All right. Good evening, folks. We are live in the top of the ninth inning, and we're going to go right to it. We're going to do some play-by-play. This is Dan Coccimilgio, yours truly, along with Ryan Smith. Larry will join us immediately after the last out, along with our special guest, Ned Colletti, tonight.
That's why we tried to. We were going to start this in maybe the eighth inning or so, but last second Ned is not feeling well, so he's not going to be joining us. So I had to change up the artwork, and actually, instead, we are going to be joined by we're going to talk a little NBA
playables. Later makes the catch. One out.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, we're going to be joined by Carmichael Dave of, I forget his radio station, but he's a very prominent, Sacramento radio guy, and he's going to talk a little NBA with us.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So we got one out in the top of the ninth there. Slater Yaz moved to right field, and
I did not like that at all.
Yeah, I didn't like the way that looked. So that was now we're just getting going here, and we've got the volume down watching the game. So we've got Sheets up to the plate with Duvall on the mound, and he winds and delivers, and it's a fouled off.
Hey Dan, do you mind pausing for 10 seconds?
Am I ahead of you?
Yeah. If you look down, I don't know if you can see it, but can you see like down in the green room? Can you see the green room?
No, I can't. Let me just pause here. I'll tell me. Let's see. Duvall's 0-1 pitch is outside, so it's 1-1. So I'm going to pause it.
Duvall just pitched. That's where I'm at.
His second 1-1?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now, okay. See if we're even here.
Yeah.
Okay. So we got 1-1, top of the ninth, no score in the ball game.
And Duvall
looks in, winds, and he throws. It's a little low, 2-1.
Going outside. All righty.
Gavin Sheets.
Fun. My dad's at the game, by the way.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. No score. Melosa pitcher's duel here. So this is a tight ball game. 2-1, one out, top of the ninth. The ball looks in, gets his sign. He throws. It's grounded to second. The first Belt gets it. Oh, and it's off of Duvall's glove. And to the dugout, and Sheets is on. That's got to be an error on Duvall. That is play you've got to make. Belt cleanly fields it, throws it to first. And you might be just a split second ahead of me because I must have paused it. Just pause for 1 second and release, and then we'll probably be exact.
1 second, release.
Okay. All right, there we go. So,
I don't know. Was that an errant throw on Belt? I can't.
Look here. There's the replay. Nope, he just missed it.
Yeah. That was a little bit of
tough play because he's got to be looking at the ball and the bag, trying to make the catch first and make sure he's in line with the bag, and that's a tough one. You wonder if second base, if Flores was over there, that would have been able to get that ball. I don't know where he was positioned. Obviously, we're doing this from watching the live. We're streaming, watching the TV, so we're not at the ballpark and can see all the positions of where the fielders are at exactly. Right. So
do you think Duvall locks in here? Because this is we got to show
here. And okay, so man on first, Sheets. Duvall looks in for the sign, looks over first, he delivers, and he gets a called strike at 99 on the outside corner. Nice pitch.
That's good response right there.
So 0-1 to.
I'm thinking a strikeout, a fielder's choice, or a double play.
Moncada, their third baseman. We need a DP here. The 0-1 pitch is swung on and miss on a slider at 89 miles per hour. 1-1. Infield moves around and with the shift. So we've got 3 men over to the left of second base, and playing his shortstop position is Donovan Walton. So 0-2. Sheets gets his lead. He winds, he throws, and a little inside on a slider. So 1-2. Good pitch, though. Good pitch to throw there, not come into the strike zone, but started out as a strike, and it kind of breaks inside. I wouldn't keep taking that if I'm Mankato. So
Dan,
1-2.
are you thinking about the monster call you're going to make when home run?
The Giants come up, hopefully. So the 1-2 pitch by Duvall, strike 3 called right down the middle with a beautiful 99-mile-per-hour fastball. That one, he was waiting on the. What do you think, Rye? I think he must have been sitting slider, huh?
Yeah, I mean, those two sliders were in the zone, and yeah, that.
I mean, he put that one right down the heart of Broadway. That was a beautiful pitch. He froze him.
Broadway Street in Walnut Creek, right there.
AJ Pollock, oh boy, he's a giant.
I hate Pollock.
He's a giant killer. 2 out, top of the 9th, 0-0 ball game. There's not been a threat. The Giants had a threat in the early part of the game. They had bases loaded, but were not able to score in the first. So the pitch to just outside 100 miles per hour fastball. Am I even with you right now, or am I?
Oh yeah.
Okay, we're right on.
We are right on. I just want to give you a little room to breathe while you're announcing.
Okay, so 1-0. Sheets off of first. Duvall looks in for a sign. The 1-0 pitch. He throws grounded to third. It's a fair ball. It hits the bag. He throws and he's safe. It hit the bag. It was an easy play for Vosler, and the ball hit the bag and bounced up in the air. Otherwise, it was inning over. What a tough break that was. Unbelievable. As it hit the bag, it bounced away from Vosler to his left. He had to reach out with his glove, and he had no momentum with his throw.
He also just doesn't have the best arm.
Yeah, even a great arm probably wouldn't have been able to get him. That was tough. So Austin Wins comes over toward the Giants dugout and replaces the
knee pad,
the pitch cam thing, it looked like, or something. Not sure what that was. So he's given signs to the infield, and I think he had to exchange the pitch cam.
I didn't know.
So here we are in the top of the 9th, man on first and second, and now it's Garcia to the plate. LaRue Garcia. Duvall looks in. He throws strike 1, a nice pitch on a slider, just putting it right in there. He's got command tonight of the slider and the fastball, which is when he's got command of both. He hasn't been hit here, really. I mean, the two runners on are just basically should have been outs. It should be they've had 4 outs in the inning. 2 out. The 0-1 pitch, just inside with a fastball at 101 miles per hour.
Cutter.
Woo.
Man, it's just I just can't believe how many guys nowadays just like throw 100 with movement routinely.
Isn't it amazing? Yeah, you look at the infield, they're playing normal, no shift. Slater's slightly into the left field side of center. The 1-1 pitch from Duvall. He looks and throws it outside. That one was not even close. It was a slider, 2-1. Giants in the home half of the 9th, in case you're thinking about that, they're going to have coming to the plate. I don't know who they got here. Looks like it'll be Belt, Yaz, and Estelle. Okay, the 2-1 pitch, 2 on, 2 out. Swung on and missed on a
big cut
on a nice slider, but that thing
was a nice slider. But I don't like the location.
I don't like the location of that one. You don't want to put that one there.
No,
I think I'm coming fastball this time. I'm looking. He's kind of set him up for the fastball. Doesn't even have to be. Can be off the plate. It could freeze him. So, or he may go chasing. So deuce is wild, as Vin Scully used to say. 2 on, 2 out. 2-2 count in a 0-0 ball game. Duvall gets ready. He throws the 2-2 pitch. Drive to right field, base hit. Here comes the throw from Yaz. He's going to be a close play at the plate, and he is safe. Oh, my goodness. Yaz had a little bit of a bobble there, and just a little juggler. He might have had him. That split second allowed the pinch runner Hasley to score. He hung a slider. He hung that slider that we were just talking about. You can see as Yaz bobbled the ball in his glove for just a split second. The throw was on line, just a hair late. So the White Sox lead 1-0 as they score in the ninth. And on the throw, both runners advance. So it's second and third now, and Reese McGuire, the batter. Geez, Giants are going to have to put a rally together in the ninth, or they're going to lose. This will be a tough one to lose. 2 strikes. Pitch by Duvall, strike 1. Dang, that was I don't know why he goes with that slider so much when he,
I don't understand. I don't like that. I mean, he was.
I don't like it hanging to a lefty. Did the same thing to Bellinger last year in the playoffs. Hung that slider. Refused to throw the fastball. And the 0-1 pitch is swung on a miss. So the 99-mile-per-hour heater up and above the strike zone. So it's 0-2. This is a big out here. Got to get this out. Otherwise, the Giants will. You don't want to go down more than 1, and they could be looking at a 3-0 deficit here if Duvall doesn't get them. So 0-2. Wins wants to target high. He throws it high and outside. 1-2. Good pitch. He hung that slider on the last pitch to Garcia. Man. So 1-2. Runners on second and third. 2 out. Top of the ninth. And it's the 1-2. Duvall gets ready. He winds. He throws. Swung on a miss. Strike 3. Threw a slider, but he put it down low where he couldn't hit it. That's where he needs to throw that slider, out of the strike zone. And so he hung a slider, and it cost him an unearned run for the White Sox, but it still counts on the board as a big run.
So this is just, baseball 101. I should know this, I guess, but so because the error would be charged to Duvall, would it technically still go against him as an earned run because it was his error, or no?
It's an unearned run, but it's
even though he was the one who. Okay.
Yeah. Let me see if they did. Let me look at the box score and see if they actually did give the error out here. Yeah, they gave it an E.
Jesus.
Yep. E1. Duvall.
I mean, also, I don't know. It's hard to say, but something tells me if we had Longo out there at third, that he maybe makes that play.
Well, I don't know, because it hit the bag, and it would have been maybe a little closer with the throw, but he had it. It wasn't that close, and he did throw it a little high too.
He did make a. He got to it pretty immediately after it ricocheted off the bag, but also he did kind of stumble. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. And also, Yaz maybe should.
Yeah, dang. It all goes back to fundamental baseball.
All right, so we got Yaz, LaStella, Vossler.
I think they may be bringing in a lefty to pitch, so it's a righty. It's they're bringing in their closer, right?
Oh, I accidentally clicked back. So yeah, what's frustrating is just
they're bringing in Graveman, who was great last year with the Astros.
Is that Kendall Graveman?
Yeah,
former starter. Oh wow.
Yeah, he was a reliever with the Astros last year, and then I think he was with Seattle. Then he got traded to Houston, I believe, at the trade deadline. Dang, he's tough to hit.
It comes back to, I just wish that, I wish that we had freaking Villar up here instead of Vossler. Vossler is such a nothing burger. Like I don't. He doesn't hit. He doesn't field. He's just literally a warm body.
Yeah. See, who's leading off here? Yaz?
Yep, we got Yaz, LaStella, and Vossler.
Okay, 3 lefties, and then they'll probably pinch hit for wins. I don't know who's on the bench to pinch hit.
I'm not going to look at the checks. I don't want anything spoiled.
All right. So here we go. Here's the first pitch. Oh, inside. Almost hit him.
Oh, this is awesome. Yeah, I think we're actually just so aligned. I think we're basically identical. All right. Here we go.
Defensive replacements. Adam Hasley goes into play left field.
Let's go. Yes.
Here we go. 1-0 pitch to
work the count at least.
Yes, and it's high and outside. 2-0.
Change. That was no control. All right, Yaz. He's been struggling.
We need a deep one here.
Heck, I mean, if he can just get on base, you know.
Yeah.
Kuyp always says it. You know, the walks, the unearned.
Graveman winds the 2-0 pitch. He swung at a 2-0 outside pitch that was not even close to the strike zone. 2-1. Yeah,
you can't help him out like that. Come on.
So 2-1.
Yeah, it just shows Yaz is not really seeing it.
Yeah, he didn't. He certainly didn't see that one. Yeah, 2-1 pitch is right down the middle. Strike 2. 2-2. That was your pitch to hit right there. That was right in Yaz's zone that he likes. Sometimes a little bit lower, but okay. Anyway, you can get on. 2-2. Graveman gets the sign. He winds. He throws. The 2-2 pitch is fly ball to left field. Routine can of corn for Pollock, and he makes the catch.
Corn.
Is that Pollock out there? Or
yeah.
Is that Hands? Yeah. So,
all right.
1 out. Giants trail 1-0. Bottom of the 9th. Here comes Tommy LaStella.
I did not like that AB from Yaz. That looked like, I don't know. It's hard to say, but that just looked like he was like, all right, I'm up here just to try and hit home run. But let's work the count. Come on.
Man, they have not been scoring runs. They have been in a funk. At least get one. Go to that 10th inning rule. Outside, Graveman is
basically the pitch that Yaz swung at.
Yeah, he swung at that pitch. Yeah, 1-0.
Could have been.
Giants need a run. They need a base runner.
At least let's make it interesting. Come on.
Yeah. So 1-0. Crowd is timeout called by LaStella.
Give me like one of those vintage 2021 Giants ABs. Just spoil pitches. Spoil them, force them to walk you.
Graveman is ready. Looks in the 1-0 pitch. Down low, 2-0.
Good.
One thing that LaStella will do is he will take a strike or two without, he'll work the pitcher. He's not afraid to get even behind 0-2. So crowd is chanting and clapping for a rally here. We need a base runner here. Anything
on your shoulder. Make him throw a strike.
Graveman's 2-0 pitch. High, ball 3. 3-0. Imagine
Graveman is all over the place. He has not established command at all. God, should be on base.
Yeah.
Oh, are we really gonna just go with Vossler here?
Got Longoria on the bench. So the 3-0 pitch. Does LaStella have the green light? I don't think so. The 3-0 pitch right down the middle, strike 1. 3-1. Yeah, he may be taking a game here too. 3-1. Hopefully he doesn't swing at a bad pitch and pop it up or something, or hit a weak grounder. But Graveman is set.
Just spoil it.
3-1 pitch. Popped up.
Oh my God.
And Anderson goes back and makes the catch. He does pop up. My goodness. 3-1 pitch, and oh my goodness. Okay. So now it's up to Vossler.
That is just not a sentence you want to say.
Someone's saying my volume on my mic. How is my mic? Is it bad or is it
fine?
That any better? Is that deeper?
I can't really tell. It sounds pretty good.
Okay.
Maybe
Right.
just yeah.
So 3-1 or 2 out. The first pitch to Vosler is high and inside, 1-0. Now the chat's probably a little ahead of us. Hopefully, so 1-0. Graveman looking in. Vosler backs out, calls timeout. 2 out, 1-0 White Sox. The 1-0 pitch to Vosler is weakly grounded to second. Comes in and charges, and he throws him out, and that's the ball game. The Giants lose a tough one.
What a that was disgusting.
Wow. They blew it in the ninth. Shoddy defense again lets the Giants down, and they are on the easiest homestand of the season. They had the Reds and the Tigers and now the White Sox, and they're 2-4. The best they can do on this 8-game homestand is 4-4. And this is the easiest homestand by far of the season. This is a team that is in a funk right now. This is not good. They are not playing good baseball, and you've got to win these games, and they will probably lose another game to the Dodgers in the standings, as I believe the Dodgers, let's see what the Dodgers are doing. Dodgers are up. It's a 5-1 final. The Dodgers beat the Padres 5-1. So the Giants 2 weeks ago were 3 games out, and now they have fallen to 7.5 back of the Dodgers. And they are 40-35, only 5 games over 500. And in the wild card standings, the Giants are now trailing the Cardinals by 1 game, because the Cardinals did lose tonight. So they're still a game back. So, and the Phillies are inching closer. They're only a half game ahead of the Phillies now.
Well, I mean, that was just a disgusting game, and really kind of, I don't know. You make these like narratives in your head, to make these games really count. And I don't know. I just thought this was a really big game, and I thought if they could win this, maybe they could build a little momentum, fresh series.
Yeah. They're going to really need to win the next 2 here and go on the, as they did earlier on a homestand. They had a crappy homestand. They lost, I want to say the first 4 of a 6-game homestand, and they won the 2 going away, and it kind of got them going a little bit. If you're going to win a couple games less, you want to win those last 2. So they're going to need to get hot here, because now we're in July. And
I don't even understand that Vosler,
the
guy who was running, I don't know who it was, but he was super fast. The way he was playing, with Vosler's arm, I think if it didn't hit off, I think if it went directly to Vosler and in his positioning didn't hit off the base and he threw to first, the guy would have been safe.
I don't know about that, because he had to. It took a little time when the ball bounced off the bag. It went away from him. That's a few tenths of a second there. Gives the runner a couple steps, and then his throwing balance was off. The Giants, Luis Gonzalez it's interesting that this tailspin they're on is kind of coincided with Luis Gonzalez being on the IL. I believe he might be available to come off tomorrow. Let me take a look and see, because and DeScalfani's back on the IL. He may be done for the year, is what I'm hearing. They may have to do surgery, which get him right. Just get him right for next year.
Cobb's injured too.
Who is?
Pretty sure Cobb is injured.
He got injured tonight?
I believe so. Let me see. I'm searching on Twitter, but I did hear something about that in the broadcast. I think he may have aggravated his knee injury. Or aggravated a knee injury. Cobb.
So I don't know if Gonzalez comes up tomorrow and they send Vosler back down or what they're going to do. But this is Crawford is eligible to return Monday, July 4th at the earliest. So hopefully Crawford says the knee is definitely still a factor. Hopefully we'll be able to knock that out along with a couple of other things that have popped up throughout the course of the year. Yeah, Crawford hasn't been right all year. I mean, this is a team that is really needing some bats. I don't know what the answer is. Belt has just not been himself. He did get a nice hit to left center tonight. But
okay. Also, can we talk about we last game we were complaining about the pinch hitting. Can we not take Jock Peterson out of the game? Can we keep him in? Maybe I don't care.
If take him out tonight again for Slater.
They took him out for Ruff, and then Ruff hit into a double play.
Here's what irritated me tonight. I know bunting is a lost art. Okay. But doggone it, it's 0-0, the bottom of the eighth. You got the leadoff man on first, and you got a guy that notoriously hits into double plays.
Hello.
Lay a sacrifice bunt down. Come on. Get a guy to second base with less than 2 out. You're the bottom of the eighth, 0-0 ball game. And you're sending in Ruff. And I don't care if he hits it into deep, short, or deep the hole toward left field, that's probably a DP with Ruff because that guy is just like.
I mean, look at it this way. If you're a White Sox fan, do you think you're happy or do you think you're sad about Darren Ruff pinch hitting for Jock Peterson?
Oh, you're like,
you're ecstatic. An easy DP. You're like, who do the Giants have? They're one guy who's a potential all-star. Oh, is Jock Peterson? Let's take him out. Let's take him. I think he's getting tired.
Did I walk in on a good argument?
No.
Or no, just frustration because they lost 1-0. How was the play-by-play? Did we get any good Dan Coccimilgio doozies?
No,
it was lifeless. I did a lot of
it was lifeless.
There was nothing to even get excited about. It's just another blunder of a game with a defensive lapse lets the Giants down again. And
okay. Can I don't know if Danny's already covered this, but first of all, welcome to the Krueg Show. I am Larry Krueger. How you doing, everybody? Hope you're having a great Friday night. Hope you enjoyed a little bit of the Dan Coccimilgio, Rice Smith play-by-play in the late innings there. We were scheduled to have the great Ned Colletti with us tonight, former Giant general manager, former Giant assistant general manager, former Dodgers general manager. But, Ned wasn't feeling good and he's traveling, coming up. So I said, Ned, sit this one out. We'll catch you another night. So he is not going to be joining us tonight, but we hope that he gets better. So Ned, if you're out there watching on YouTube, we hope that you're feeling better. So Ned is not going to be with us tonight, but he will be with us at some point next week. So I thought, what's today really been about? Well, obviously first of all, I thought that was a very exciting 0-0 game. Very exciting, game where there was no offense tonight. We'll get into that in just a second. But today was about NBA free agency, and so was yesterday. All around the country, all around the NBA, player movement. KD's going to go here. The Warriors adding Dante DiVincenzo, saying goodbye to Damian Lee, goodbye to Juan Toscano-Anderson, goodbye to Gary Payton II. How about that? And they re-signed Kevon Looney. So, and we got a lot to talk about. The Kings made a bunch of moves. So I decided to dial up our good friend Carmichael Dave. And we've invited Carmichael Dave. Now, do we send Carmichael do we text him his invite?
So I have it ready to send. I just wasn't sure when to bring him on. Should we just bring him on now?
No, I told him 10:30. So we get 10 minutes or so. We'll bring Dave on, and you can send it to him. And he's actually not at home; he's traveling himself. So that's really cool that he's joining us. But he's obviously up in Sacramento, works for KHDK Radio, big on the Kings. Known him for a long time. The Kings added Kevin Herter tonight, which is a nice addition. Sacramento making some moves. They went with Malik Monk, and they used to have Dante DiVincenzo this last year. Yeah. So we'll get Dave's thoughts on DiVincenzo, Mike Brown's new roster, what the Warriors championship roster looks like going forward, and just who among the contenders, in his opinion, has made some nice moves and improved themselves. And we'll get into all that discussion for sure. And we'd love to hear from you in the chat, of course, but Dave will join us bottom of the hour. We'll talk about all the moves in the NBA. But as far as this game tonight goes, guys, first of all, no-hitter going. Alex Cobb looked great early. I mean, really, really good. And so did Lance Lynn. And Donovan Walton made this beautiful play on that slow roller by Andrew Vaughn.
Oh, that was a beautiful
in the
play.
top of the fourth inning to preserve the no-no. And you're thinking, wow, is that the Gregor Blanco? Is that the play that we'll remember years from now after Cobb throws a no-hitter? But that was not to be, because Jose Abreu would get an infield single on a ground ball to Walton, where he beat it out for the White Sox first hit coming later in that inning in the top of the fourth inning. So it was not to be as far as a no-hitter. Brandon Belt got the Giants' first hit, by the way. And then the Giants just didn't do anything offensively. I mean, they just never did anything at all. We did see an amazing catch, I thought, in left center by Mike Yastrzemski. And, man, I've been watching games in this ballpark since it opened in 2000, and that's as good as I've seen in this yard. Period. Yeah, right field, center field, left field. That was Yaz on the dead run, right center, boom, right into the wall on the dead run. It was a great bit of hand-eye coordination, great concentration to rob Yohan Moncada of what was a sure double. So I thought that was kind of a killer play in the game, one that I'll remember for a long time. It was good to see Johnny Cueto get a nice ovation. The fans showed Johnny how much they loved him. And then how about this? Damian Lee of the Warriors throws out the ceremonial first pitch, and he's a Phoenix Sun before the game's over. Yeah. He went from a Golden State Warrior throwing at the first pitch to he got in his car to drive home tonight. He's a Phoenix Sun. What do you think of that?
That's a weird one.
That's a weird one.
That was a weird. You wonder if he knew he was going to be a Sun before the first pitch.
Exactly.
I never got the chance to do this. Let me get it in real quick.
But it's a 0-0 game going to the eighth. And, Giants, now 8 losses in the last 11 games. They only get 3 hits tonight. I didn't understand why Kapler pulled Cobb. Cobb went 5. He only gave up 3 hits. He had a shutout going. He only had 67 pitches, 42 strikes. I mean, it worked out. Brebbia pitched the 6th, shutout ball. Rogers pitched the 7th, shutout ball. Leone pitched the 8th. He gave up the double to Andrew Vaughn, but he got Robert on the comebacker. He pitched shutout ball. But what if you could have pushed all those guys back one and, maybe save Doval. Instead, Doval winds up giving it up in the 9th inning. Giants rallied in the 8th, you could say, rough, then grounded into a double play. That hurt. But it was the error on the play at first base. Simple 3-1 put out at the bag, right? Ground ball, right side. Belt comes off far off the bag. Doval got over there plenty of time. He had plenty of time. He had, the throw was out front, but it was right there. I mean, it wasn't an errant throw by any stretch, and he just didn't catch it. It ricocheted off his glove. E1, first runners on. Then Pollock hits a ground ball to third base, and Giants get unlucky. Hits the bag, infield hit in front of Vossler, And then, Garcia, when a 2-on-2-out situation, he hung a slider to him, and he just, what can you say? It's a single on a hanging slider, 1-0 White Sox. Yaz made a nice play at the plate. I made it close with a nice throw, I should say, to the plate, but the run scores, and then the Giants go down meekly against Graveman in the bottom of the ninth. Yaz, F8, LaStella, a little pop up to the shortstop, and then Vossler, a little ground ball to the right side. So there you go. That's it. There's your ball game.
You got to be a little frustrated, though, if you're Alex Cobb. You throw 5 innings, shutout ball, 67 pitches. You want to be at 75 or less after 5. So he's definitely on target to go 6 minimum, maybe 7. If you're watching, he probably could have, at the rate he was going, if he's at the 100 pitch count, if you had that on him, he was on track to do 7-8 innings, but the balls were hit a little bit harder in that top of the 5th, but it was only 9 pitches. He got out of the inning in 9 pitches. So not a lot of labor there, not a stressful inning, where a guy's throwing 20, 25 pitches because he's got runners on base, nothing. And he takes them out, I mean, I don't understand this dang analytics. It's like, we're getting through, maybe getting ready to come up for the 3rd time. They're starting to hit the ball. Better pull them. I mean,
just play the hot hand. Play the hot hand. Guy's gone 5 shutout. What are you in a rush for? What are you in a ruch to take him out of the game for?
The other night he leaves Webb in. I mean, not Webb.
Guys, I'm hearing. I heard on the broadcast something about Cobb maybe aggravating the groin or the knee. Or
there you go. It would make you think, right? Because as I said, it was 5 shutout. He was in total command. He only gave up 3 hits. He only walked 1. 67 pitches and 5 shutout for a veteran pitcher. You would think he would have pitched 2 more innings.
Aggravated the groin for what? Running over to first base?
I don't know.
Come on. I had a growing pull in high school when I was playing football. I never had that problem again once it healed.
You're calling him soft?
Like crazy. I stretched like crazy.
Yeah, groin injuries are notoriously horrible and lingering. I've had them, and they're
it lasted I had it for like 8 weeks. The thing.
There you go. There you go.
But once it healed, I never had a problem again because I would stretch between innings or between. If I'm on the bench or during baseball or whatever, you just don't want to. I'm out in the outfield. I'm constantly stretching it because, man, that's like the 3rd time he's had this year.
Yeah,
it's like you gotta get well. I mean, and this is a problem with Cobb. He's got great stuff, but he's always hurt. I mean, his previous seasons, he's been hurt. Constantly.
He has had a hard time staying healthy for sure. I mean, how about this? Did you guys see the Alex Wood comment the other day?
No.
Well, basically, he says, "Hey, man, Rodon and Webb are dealing, and it's up to the other 3 guys to." I forget exactly, but he basically kind of just put it flatly. It's on us, man. We got to step it up. And I love that, man. That's what I love about Alex Cobb, because there's true accountability there.
So
by the way, we should mention the news of the day on the Giant front. DeSclafani is on the injured list with an ankle. They're saying it may need surgery.
Right.
So that could be significant. Jacob Junis
get him healthy for
was
next
scheduled
year.
to throw a bullpen maybe as soon as today. So that one is interesting. If DeSclafani's going to miss time, that will hurt them for sure. Though I should say DeSclafani doesn't look that good right now, so maybe it's a break.
Yeah.
I mean, they signed him to a 3-year deal, so he's got 2 years left after this for $24 million on the books. I say if he needs surgery, get it done so he's ready to go in spring training, because you don't want this to linger into next year. You don't want to throw him out there every 5 to 6 weeks after resting him and find out it's not right. This is the 4th time that he was dealing with this injury last year, and he had all off season, right? And it's still not right. And he's aggravated it a couple times, saying it's still not right. I say shut him down, get the surgery, get the thing right. It's July 1st, and that gives him like 9 months to be ready, 8-9 months. I don't know what the significance is of his ankle, but I would imagine most ankle injuries for a pitcher can be, it's not like he's Steph Curry, and he's going to be cutting and, bouncing off the walls like where he needs it for every movement. But he needs to be able to have that ankle strong, because that's my understanding is his landing foot, which he gets a lot of his, power from.
It's interesting. The Giants now, as the calendar turns to July, 14-7, they went in April. They were sub 500 in the month of May. They were exactly 500 in the month of June. I think if you take May and June, they're roughly 500. And they're now 2-4 on what was supposed to be the easiest homestand of the year.
Exactly.
With the White Sox and Tigers.
Just before you came on,
easiest game homestand, and people were saying, "Oh, this is going to be an easy one." They're 2-4 with one game left. So we'll see.
Hey, Larry, what do you say we bring in our special guest, Carmichael Dave, host of the Carmichael Dave Show? A little plug: weekdays, Mondays through Fridays, 6 to 9 a.m. on 1140 KHTK in Sacramento. All right.
What's up, Dave? What's going on, man? How are you?
Hey, hello, buddy. How are you doing, my man? Sorry for the no camera. I'm literally in the middle of a cattle ranch right now. There's no light where I'm at. And, wouldn't work out.
We wanted to see the cattle.
I can't even see him right now. I'm hoping I don't get pinched by a coyote or something in the middle of all this. But I was watching. I'm able to get a reception, I hope. And I just watched the game like you guys. Oh man, I'm sitting here in my sleeveless Giants like 1989 Pacific Stock Exchange T-shirt that's all ratted up. Just killing me, man.
How do you now you do a morning show, right, Dave, at KHTK? How much Giants do you talk? I know it's the Kings flagship station, and the NBA conversation kind of probably takes precedent. I would imagine probably the NFL conversation maybe takes precedent. But where in the mix is the Giants obviously have a huge foothold in Sacramento. Heck, their AAA team plays right there on the water in Sacramento at that what used to be Rayleigh Field. What percentage of your guys' show is Giants dominated?
As much as I can, and a lot of that, I mean, you're right, Sacramento, a lot of A's fans, but it's a Giants town. We run A's games up there when we can, when they don't conflict with the Kings, because the A's, as you know, have had trouble finding a broadcast partner all these years, and the A's have been wonderful to us. But I'm a Giants fan, and the Giants are relevant, and that's no offense to A's fans, but it's the Giants. So we fit them in as much as we can, for sure. Obviously dominated by Kings, but again, it helps to have a diehard lifelong Giants fan hosting, because I can sneak it in as much as I can.
Yeah, no. So give me your quick thought before we ask you about the Kings and the Warriors and DiVincenzo and all the NBA player movement. Give me one thought on the Giants. I was just saying to the fellas, 14-7 in April. They basically been 500 ever since. They were a little sub 500 in May, exactly 500 in June. They're 2-4 on what was, I was saying to Danny, was supposed to be the easiest homestand of the year against Detroit and the White Sox. Give me your thought on the Giants and how they look this year coming off the 107.
They're just such an enigma, aren't they? Because they're so smart. Kapler and Zaidi, they're just so smart, and it's almost like it's like they're running it as a small market team. Buy low, get your bargains, resurrect careers, but they're not a small market team, and they don't have a small market payroll. I think the thing I'm waiting on, and I know a lot of Giants fans are waiting on, is what's the decision they're going to be making over the next few weeks? Are they going to try to boost up, go in, grab a playoff spot, and see if they can make a run with a chip in a chair? Or are they going to step back, cut their losses, and try to boost up that minor league system or something? Not that they have a ton of weapons to send away for young help, but it's really isn't it kind of a teeter-totter right now with them? And I feel like the next 2-3 weeks, if that, are really going to decide which direction they decide to go for the rest of the summer.
It's funny. If we had examples of them like bailing out on seasons, it would be one thing. But since they're almost always in a go for it mode, I kind of expect them, even if they're not really in anything of substance, I still expect them to kind of, think that they are and be in go for it mode. Let's talk a little NBA because this has been a wild couple days. Give me why don't we start with your Kings? Because I know you're a Kings guy. I know there's lots of people who follow you who are big Kings fans. And my brother's a judge. He lives in Thomas, him and his boys, they're big Kings fans. They trade Halliburton, they get Sabonis, who's a two-time All-Star. Then they pass up on Jaden Ivey on draft night for Keegan Murray. And that shocked me. But then after the draft, I read, there was a few teams, maybe even the Spurs had interest in Murray over Ivy. So who knows? Maybe Monty McNair knows something we don't know. Today, they added Kevin Huerter. They let DiVincenzo go. That was kind of curious, but then they replaced him with Malik Monk. Well, give me your thought on what Sacramento's had done basically since the season ended.
So there was a national article, I think it was CBS Sports today. And the guy said, I want to say it was Matt Moore, and he said, surrounding Sabonis and Fox with a bunch of shooters isn't the worst possible approach. And we all jumped on that like, hey, it's not the worst thing. That's great. That's like high praise from national media. Listen, the Murray thing was interesting, and I've talked to Monty McNair, the GM of the Kings, on air and off air, and I've grilled him like, dude, are we going for fit? Are you going to draft for fit? Or after the draft is over, is this going to be a fit thing? And time again, he said, I'm going to draft the best player available. This is where you get a star. We're not doing it. And I do take him at his word. I honestly believe that the scouts believe that Keegan Murray is going to be the better NBA player than Jaden Ivey. And I don't know if you saw Jaden's press conference, but it kind of made sense there. Like in a weird way, just as a sports fan, I was really glad the Kings passed on him and Detroit picked him up because you got, I think it was the mayor, I don't know who it was, but it was an outdoor press conference, and they present him with, I think it was like his grandfather's jersey from the Lions, his dad's jersey from Country Day where Chris Webber played right outside Detroit, and then his mom's jersey from the Detroit Shock. It was like, okay, I get it. That's why he was sending smoke signals that he didn't want to come to Sac. He wanted to go to Detroit, and I respect that. The two things the Kings need the most in the offseason, shooting and defense. And you add in Monk, who, listen, young kid, cheap deal, had a decent year with the Lakers last year. And by the way, was the Kentucky backcourt mate with Durant and Fox. That had something to do with it. He comes in. He's a shooter. Keegan Murray's a shooter who's a pretty decent defender out of Iowa. And then you add in Huerter, who I'm cool with giving up Holiday. I'm cool with giving up Harkless. They weren't going to be rotation players much anyways. The fact that we gave up a conditional first rounder with all kinds of conditions, but the Stepien rule dictates that if your first rounder is out there in the ether, that means we can't trade first rounders now for a while until that conveys. That handcuffs us from making a big move. And I'm saying us because you're supposed to do that as journalists. But so we added shooting. But here's the thing, who's playing defense? If you look at the top scoring NBA teams from last year and the top defending teams from the NBA last year, there's a mix. But most of the best teams in the NBA were very, very good at not giving up a ton of points. I don't know who's going to play defense. It's going to be a fun league pass team to watch. But with the roster right now, and I hate saying this to my fellow Kings fans, unless there's injuries, unless there's more tanking for Victor Wembanyama like we're seeing with the Spurs and the Thunder, it's going to be real tough to grab that play-in spot right now.
I heard Dave, I heard Tim Legler the night of the draft when the pick was made for Keegan Murray that he thought that was the best pick for the Kings, that he was the best fit and he was ready to play and would give the Kings the best player for them. So if that means anything, I thought Legs usually has pretty good analogy of what's going on in the league.
Well, it's better than Avery Johnson, who was on national TV today, saying that He said the Kings need to figure out what they're going to do with Buddy Hield.
No way. No
Dude,
way.
he went all in on it. He said it like 3 times. He's like, they need to figure out Buddy Hield wants out of there. It's like, bro, we traded Buddy Hield like a year ago. But thanks there, General.
Wow.
It's embarrassing.
That is embarrassing.
One thing I've learned, because everyone, Krug too, you get this. Like, what do you think of the pick? Hey, man, what do you think of the pick? I'm like, dude, ask me in 3 years, and I know that's a cop out, but one of my favorite things to do leading up to a draft is go through all the mock drafts from like the last 5 years and to show how wrong they were, and then to go through the post draft grades. Like, we got an A- from ESPN for Thomas Robinson. We got an A+ for Ben McLemore. Nick Stauskas was an A from Sports Illustrated, a 2-way player who's going to make a surprising difference on defense. Plus, he's a deadeye, and he just got included as a postage stamp in that Celtics Chris Middleton trade today. Like, I don't know. These guys get paid millions of dollars, and they fail constantly. I can hope. Keegan Murray looked good at Iowa, but I have absolutely no idea.
Who was that gigantic white guy they drafted who was like 280 a few years ago? I love that guy. He was like skilled.
Yorgos Papagiannis, dude.
Yeah, exactly. Papa Giannis or whatever. I was like, Papa Giannis. Yeah. How's that looking right now? I'm being hoisted on my Papa Giannis.
The big joke we make.
I love Davion Mitchell. Mitchell plays D. He's only 5'11" or whatever, but he plays D. I'd almost rather have him running the point than Fox, to be honest. I don't love the way Fox has looked since he signed that deal. But, is Herder going to be happy? I don't know. Today he tweeted out something like, "This is my welcome to the NBA moment" or something.
Yeah.
That wasn't necessarily a ringing endorsement of, the downtown entertainment district. But I like Malik Monk. He's got a ton of range. I'll tell you the guy that I kind of like, who's kind of a sleeper for the Kings, is that big man from Utah State, Cada. I bet you he's going to be something. He's going to be something at some point. It might take 2 years. I don't know. What's the talk? I mean, the Kings haven't won 40 games. I looked this up before the show. I couldn't believe it. Kings haven't won 40 games in the season in 16 years. 16 years since they won 40. We're not talking about the playoffs, just win 40.
My kids are inside. We're out of town for the holiday. My children are 14 and 13, and they have been commandeered into the world of, well, not so much my daughter, she doesn't care. But my son's a diehard Kings fan, right? He's 13. They have never seen a playoff game. They have not walked this earth. And we're just hoping at this point, before they become legal adults, the craziest stat about the Kings and how pathetic they are. And now this streak of 16, this record streak, half belongs to the Maloofs, the previous owners, half belongs to Vivek Ranadive and his crew. Rick Adelman joined the team back in, 98, 99, whatever it was. He made the playoffs every single year that he coached for this team. They've never made them since. They've never made the playoffs it's so ridiculous.
Build him a statue, man. That's like he's like a mythical figure.
He's not even like, there's not even like a mock turtleneck and a mustache retired in the rafters, which there should be. He has not been honored near enough. And here we are. It's like, reality sets in. You're like, okay, the Spurs are going to drop out. Maybe Utah's going for a full rebuild. I mean, Brian Windhorst had the craziest move of the day yesterday when he basically predicted all this stuff. So maybe there's 2 spots open. Oh my God, that's one of the craziest things I've ever seen. This dude, I thought he was high when I watched it live. He's like the Godfather.
You knew he had. On First Take, where you're just fighting for oxygen at all times, and he just
2 minutes. He
was just like, "Okay, bro, spit it out." And he was like, it was his moment, and you know what? Good for him, because when he's not always right, but when you're right, you're right. Yeah, I think that Danny Ainge might be pulling off a little bit of the the Boston the Boston deal where they're just stocking up on first round picks and
load up and then pull the trigger at the right time.
I mean, Donovan Mitchell, could be worse guys to build around, I guess. I mean, he's 25 years old, but I don't know. What do you guys think about Gobert to
Minnesota
to the Timberwolves? Because honestly, I kind of like it because Russell is a horrible defender, right? Edwards is improving. He will be better, but he's not great right now. You add a guy like Kyle Anderson at the 3. I mean, he's as long as he's surrounded by shooters, he's a playmaker. He's long. He plays good defense. Then you got Towns, and then Gobert just is going to make it right for everyone on defense, at least during the regular season. And I don't know.
Hey, it should make them a contender. I mean, it was Beverley, Walker Kessler, Malik Beasley, Jared Vanderbilt, 4 number ones, though. 4. I think they're all lottery protected.
Unprotected. I think they're unprotected.
Are they unprotected? But Gobert's 33, right? I mean,
no, I think he's 29. Or
is he? If Gobert, Gobert and Cat and Edwards, I mean, possibly. I mean, I'll say this: when I watch Cat and I watch Edwards, especially the way Edwards played down the stretch, I'm thinking, man, if they can get 1 or 2 more pieces around that duo, Minnesota may have something. Because Edwards was just ridiculous at the end of the year.
4 unprotected first rounders.
Yeah,
and the way you look at Minnesota and what they're doing, it's like free agents don't go to markets like that.
Yeah.
So they're going all in. And I'm going to tell you something. It's either going to work, or you remember those Looney Tunes cartoons when Wile E. Coyote hit the rock face, and there'd be a Wile E. Coyote cutout of his body as he smashed through. That's kind of what the front office is setting themselves up to do. There's no middle ground, man. They're either going to be a title contender or they're going to smash right through that boulder face.
It does remind me a little bit of the Boston, New Jersey Nets deal when Ainge unloaded Pierce and Garnett and gets brings them into Boston, gets all those draft picks.
I mean, you got Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and those things were never ending.
Right.
Dave, let's get your thought on DiVincenzo. He goes to the Warriors. The Kings had him. They could have retained him. They obviously preferred Malik Monk. What did you think of DiVincenzo? And what do you think of DiVincenzo now joining Steph Curry and Klay Thompson in that backcourt? Jordan Poole.
I think it's tremendous. Dante DiVincenzo is just such a Warriors-y player, which is totally not a word, but you know exactly what I mean. He's a guy that's going to fit right in there when he's got, Mike Brown came over to us, and that's a loss because he captained that defense, and you're going to need those types of players that can play on ball D. And Dante DiVincenzo can do that. Remember, he was hurt. He had a really, really bad ankle injury. And what we saw out of him last year was just kind of a glimpse of what he could do. It's a wonderful pickup for the Warriors. They got Looney back on what is a really good deal. But what was it? What is it, $8 million a year? Did I see something that every dollar the Warriors spend now because of the cap is times 7?
Yeah, they've got the repeater tax on this. Basically the deal was going to be $50 million if they had thrown more money at Peyton. I mean, it's very punitive. The NBA is this is a competitive balance thing, and they've got the repeater tax. The Warriors have the top payroll in the sport, and it limits them. So I mean, paying DiVincenzo 2 years, $9.3 million, as opposed to paying $28 million for Peyton, I mean, the difference is tens of millions of dollars for sure.
You're going to love DiVincenzo. He's going to fit in very well. He does struggle, or did struggle last year a little bit with the open 3, and he's going to have a lot of open 3s, but he's going to provide on-ball wing defensive depth. And truly, do I think Malik Monk and Kevin Huerter are it makes the Kings a little more offensive and a little more deep. But back to the beginning of the conversation, DiVincenzo was one of their better defenders, and you pointed out very well. I mean, there's a lot of talk, and I can't even bring it up on my show because I just get killed when I even bring up the idea of moving Fox and letting Mitchell run the point and getting. It's like, seriously, like, I'm afraid people are going to stake my house out. You cannot talk about that. You can't talk about it. But at some point, this is that year. De'Aaron's going into his 7th year. He's not an all-star. Or he hasn't been. Now, granted, he's been surrounded by garbage or close to it for his career. But at some point, when you're making 30 plus, you gotta make the playoffs. You gotta become an all-star. You gotta do something. And he was not working with Tyrese Halliburton last year. So they moved Halliburton, get Sabonis, and De'Aaron just absolutely took off. But you also, and this wasn't De'Aaron's fault at all, but Vlade Divac, and this is terrible to bring up anywhere near Sacramento, Vlade's reasoning for drafting Marvin Bagley over Luka Doncic, again, was not wanting to take the ball out of De'Aaron Fox's hands. Yep. And now all the Kings have to show for the number 2 pick in the draft, in which guys like Luka Doncic and Trae Young and Jaren Jackson immediately followed them. All they have is Trey Lyles that they just picked up. That was what they got for Bagley.
Wow.
It's so sad. And at some point, this is really a put up year for De'Aaron, because at some point you got to quit making moves around him if you're treading water. So there's a lot of pressure out here. DiVincenzo loses a little bit of defense for us, but Golden State's going to love him.
By the way, Dave, did you see the kid on Twitter? I was circulating on draft day. It was from the Bagley Luka draft, and he's watching the coverage, and he's got the Kings jersey on, and the Sacramento Kings select Marvin Bagley III, and he's like, "Yes, I didn't want Luka. I absolutely did."
Yep. He actually. His buddy reached out on Twitter and like tagged him on it. Just completely, it was him. He was lying low. He's like some analyst or something for crypto or God knows what. Seemingly smart dude into all the numbers and mathematic world. But boy, there were a lot of people that just I still to this day I will never forget when I got a call draft day about 4 hours before the draft from Brandon Williams, the assistant GM of the Kings. And he said, "Listen, off record, you can't leak this. We're drafting Bagley. I know you're going to lose it. Here's why we're doing it." And he laid it out. We had and listen, I've been wrong on plenty of things. This isn't a pat on my back thing. I've been wrong plenty of times. But he and I literally got into a yelling match where it's like, are you kidding? We have our general manager played with his dad. We have 2 Serbian guys in Vlade and Peja in the front office. His former coach, Igor Koskarov, is our assistant. Like, we're the perfect place for this Doncic kid. What are you freaking doing? And it turned out literally, I mean, when you look back at all-time bust picks, we're not there yet. I don't know that, is it Sam Bowie? You can go down and down the line, Odin over Durant, whatever it may be. We're not there yet, but we're certainly in the conversation where that is one of the worst. We've missed on Klay Thompson. We missed on Steph Curry. We missed on Kawhi Leonard. We missed on Giannis. I mean, on and on and on. Some of those are fair. Some of those are not fair.
Was the first pick in the draft by the Kings once upon a time.
Our only number 1 pick ever, Purvis Ellison, our only number 1 pick ever. And remember, once upon a time, Tyreek Evans, his rookie year, went 25-5.
He's great.
He was wonderful. And Steph Curry had rubber ankles. And the whole thing was, oh, man, Kings really made out with this Tyreek Evans kid. And there were some people that wanted the young, scrappy dude out of Davidson. But people were feeling great about Tyreek Evans over Steph Curry. We were talking about draft earlier. It just goes to show you, even a year after the draft, you're sitting here and going, oh, we made a great pick. Next thing you know, Steph Curry is a generational player. It's just a crapshoot, and we always get the crap end of the stick, man, because God hates Sacramento, Larry. I told you that before.
Sacramento is, I'll say this. I went to Sac State. I think it's underrated. My wife's parents live in El Dorado Hills. My brother lives in Natomas. I've got friends that live on American River Drive with river access. I mean, there are some nice places in Sacramento to live. I thought of it when I was in high school as, man, it's going to be flat and hot and terrible and a bunch of guys dipping in a pickup. And it's like, you know what? No, that's not it. There's trees everywhere. There's multiple, rivers run through that town. It's nice. It's nice. There's culture there. Sacramento is a very underrated town from what I consider. And I've seen a lot of America. So I can honestly say I think it's an underrated place. And most of the guys who get traded there and spend any appreciable amount of time there either wind up making homes there, buying property there, keeping roots there. There's a lot to like about Sacramento. Dave, that being said, give me your 2-day look, and I want all your guys, Danny and Rye, your thoughts. What title contender in the NBA got better over the last 2 days? And does Draymond Green's statement, proclamation, whatever, hey, we're going to win 3 of the next 4, have you seen anything this offseason that makes you say, no, you're not?
Well, Boston got better. Boston got better.
100%.
That's it.
What did they got Brogdon? Did they get Gallinari tonight?
I believe they did. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so that's a lot.
They got exactly what they needed.
100%. They got a lot better. And let's remember that was a really good series with Golden State. And no credit. I'm taking zero credit away from the Warriors, but Boston just they crapped the bed at times offensively, and I think a lot of that was just inexperience in the big lights. Boston, Milwaukee still has Giannis Antetokounmpo and friends. That's going to be a thing. I don't know what the hell's going on in Philly. Daryl Morey's love affair with James Harden's going to end up ruining any legacy he possibly could have had. And then, I keep going back to
deal's pretty wild, honestly. I think he's huge for the culture and the toughness and everything. And Miami really wanted him back. But man, that's a lot of years for a guy who's 38 and he's 6'5". And
yeah, and you're absolutely right. Daryl, I think Daryl's a good GM. James Harden's his Achilles heel, always has been. I keep going back to Phoenix. They were so good in the regular season, and they just imploded. We don't know what's going to happen with Ayton. Utah's out of the picture. Obviously, Golden State's going to be the favorite in the West. But here's the thing, guys. The whole NBA is on the head of a pin right now because there is an absolute super-duper star that appears like he's going to switch teams. And it just – if Kevin Durant goes to the air quotes right team in the right situation, that could shift the entire balance of power. So I'm not ready to fit the Warriors with another ring yet. I think they had, and again, all credit to them. It was such an awesome story, but you got some guys that are a little longer in the tooth. You got injuries that could pop up here and there. There's so many things, as you know, that need to go right to be able to make everything. It's so hard to repeat. I think it's up in the air, man. I think there's 4 or 5 teams right now that could win the whole thing, and we haven't even seen where Durant's going to land.
Yeah, and I'm hearing Durant, it may be tough to for Miami or Phoenix to fit him in with the salary structures of who the Suns or the Heat can trade. I'm hearing Booker can't be in a deal because he just signed an extension. And I
think that you're limited to having guys rookie max extension guys or something like that, and because they have Ben Simmons, which
why would you do that if you're Sean Marks? You don't have to. He could. There's a possibility that he still stays in New Jersey, even though he said he wants out. He ended up going to the owner, right? He didn't go to Sean Marks. I mean,
they're in Brooklyn now, but there's
Brooklyn. I mean, not New Jersey. Yeah, Brooklyn.
But Brooklyn has said right away that they would acquiesce and trade him. So I do expect him to be traded. What do you think? I mean, there was speculation about Boston. I've heard people say Philadelphia. Phoenix was what Chris Haynes had immediately. So my first thought is, man, if Chris Haynes is probably thrown out Phoenix, it's probably Phoenix. To me, it seems like, if you could get a sign and trade involving Ayton, maybe Phoenix
that's the only
works.
way Bobby Marks said it could work.
Yeah, I mean that's the only thing I can see there. I mean, Miami, I don't see a fit there with Miami. What do you guys think?
A third team. Miami would need a third team, and I don't know if it's just posturing, but the reports are leaking out that the Nets aren't particularly tantalized by Ayton. That could just be, I mean, remember back to the Harden trade, right? And it was like, that was months of just, is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? Oh, they're close. Oh, they're not close. Oh, the Nets don't think they're getting enough. And you know what? They kind of played it right because the big thing is they wanted Curry in the deal. And then they ended up with Curry in the deal. So maybe they're just trying to get more stuff from Phoenix, but I really think that it's going to end up being a 3-teamer if it's with the Suns or the Heat. And if it's with the Suns, I think Ayton goes to Atlanta and Bridges goes to Brooklyn, and then, a ton of picks go to Brooklyn, and, probably a bunch of young pieces from Atlanta, and call it a day.
What do you think, Dave? Where do you think KD ultimately winds up?
Everything I'm hearing is Miami. Everything.
Really?
From
And
camp
from
guys.
what, Tyler Hero?
I don't even know. I mean, honestly, because here's the thing. Do you ever notice how there's like 4 teams in the NBA that and the Lakers are one, the Heat are one,
Yeah.
the Nets, they just, it's like no rules apply to them. I don't know how they do it, but
Exactly.
it's like Pat Riley is always able to do like whatever he wants. You're like, oh, they don't have the cap space, they have like $1 and room and all that. Next thing you know, they sign a like a $38 million. All I'm hearing is he wants to go there. He wants to play for Pat Riley. They want him, and they're going to figure out a way to do it. You got to remember too. I mean, something that never gets talked about. And it doesn't get talked about enough in circles, but Florida and Texas have such huge advantages when it comes to money, when it comes to state tax. It really does make a difference. And then on top of that, I'm sure you guys have seen this before. If you ever get a hold of it, there are spreadsheets that are out there. You just have to know somebody, but the shoe companies put out spreadsheets in the differences in salary they will pay athletes based on up or down the market they're in. So for example, Nike would pay a guy $10-15 million more a year in a shoe deal to play in Miami, New York, or LA than they would in Sacramento. And it's an underreported thing in the NBA when you factor in for a player the differences in shoe deals depending on market, and then also the differences in state tax when it comes to market. It can mean 15, 20, 25 million a year for a player, and it's never, ever reported on. And Adam Silver won't do anything about it. So you talk about big versus small market. It's not just whining. It's a real thing that makes it difficult, for Kevin Durant's not coming to Sacramento. He's not going to Oklahoma City back there. Of course, that wouldn't happen. But even like a San Antonio, if they wanted to throw a bunch of those picks they just got from Atlanta and make a real move to try to get, they probably have enough ammo draft-wise to at least get Brooklyn. You got me there to pick up the phone. But it's just never going to happen. Kevin wants to go to Miami. His team wants him to go to Miami. That's all I'm hearing.
It's so funny. After watching Jimmy Butler blow up at Spoelstra and blow up in that huddle and looking at their salary structure right now, and he's making $45 million in next year, 37.6, but the year after $45 million. And looking at KD's deal, it's probably going to be Jimmy Butler. And they probably would like to have Jimmy Butler out of town and do a reset with Durant. Durant might be a breath of fresh air after the intensity of Jimmy Butler.
But after Jimmy Butler just had that heroic Eastern Conference Finals, it'd be tough to sell that.
It would be, but
can't put Bam.
But if you cross Spoelstra, and Spoelstra's one of the great coaches in the league, and you're not getting rid of Spoelstra.
I think they're good now. I think
they weren't good that night against the Warriors on the sideline.
But I think they're just
Bam can't be part of the deal, right?
No, he can't unless they trade Ben Simmons.
Right. Hey, Dave, a couple last ones before we let you go. Lakers. What do you think? Is there anything to be, there's a talk about KD and Kyrie winding up with the Lakers. There's no chance that happens, right? I mean, you mentioned the Miami seems like they'll have nothing, and all of a sudden they've got opportunities. The Lakers are like the captain of that ship. I mean, it's amazing the opportunities that seem to fall into their lap. Do you see any way KD and Kyrie? KD's made it clear he doesn't dislike Kyrie. He doesn't want to play with Kyrie in Brooklyn. Well, does he want to play with Kyrie at the Staples Center?
I think Kevin Durant wants to get away from Kyrie and his garbage, and I think that's part of the reason he wants out. Kyrie has a shelf life of like 6 months and then gets distracted by a bumblebee and he ticks everybody off around him. And I just don't think Kevin Durant at 33 years old wants to deal with that anymore. Now, could LA end up with one of them? Yes, for the reasons we just talked about. They get so many free passes because of geography, because of marketing and endorsements. And then, of course, they're the Lakers. They're a tentpole franchise in the NBA, but they have just been run so atrociously since Dr. Buss passed away, really time and time again. If the Lakers hierarchy from Jeannie Buss to Kurt Rambis all the way down, Rob Pelinka, I firmly believe this, if they were in Sacramento or Charlotte or San Antonio or Oklahoma City, they'd be the laughing stock of the league, but they get their rear ends covered so many times because people like Anthony Davis literally force their way to Los Angeles, and they got their bubble title. So yeah, I think they'll figure it out. They'll trade Russell Westbrook to somebody who would take him a top 3 toxic contract in the NBA because they're the Lakers and that's what they do. So I would never ever count them out. And I'd love to see, man, I would love to see Kyrie Irving and LeBron James reunited in LA if for no other reason, just for the trash fire that it'll end up being.
I think I'm waiting for the day when somebody forces their way to Sacramento, where they say, you know what, I want to be in the capital city. I want to be where Carmichael Dave and Jason Ross broadcast. I want to be right there in the middle of it. I want to be on Madison Avenue.
Okay, wait, Carmichael, that's something I wanted to ask is the thing that's just heartbreaking for me is, like, of course, I think everyone loves Halliburton as a player, but just the fact that it seemed like he really had a bond with Sacramento. How many do you feel that from a Fox and your other key guys? Like, do you get that feeling that they're all like, oh, I'm in for this. I'm in for I'm into Sacramento. This is my home. Whatever.
Not like Tyrese. No, I mean,
why the hell did they do that? I don't understand why they wouldn't trade Fox to New York or something. Then
there's one of two things. Either they are completely convinced that Fox is the guy, or honestly, and I don't know this, I truly don't.
Sure.
But I do think that if they had the ability, if Indiana would have taken Fox instead of Halliburton, I think they would have made that deal. And I don't understand why, because then you'd have Davion Mitchell and Tyrese Halliburton in the backcourt, and you'd have Sabonis. I just can't see a situation where they would have said no. I think Indiana said no to that, and we were so terrible. We were so imbalanced in the backcourt, did not have much of anything in the front court. That Monty McNair saw an opportunity to get a 2-time All-Star in Sabonis, who's 26. He's on the timeline. He's still locked down for 2 more years at $19 million. It absolutely hurt to give away Tyrese Halliburton. And you're right. The unique thing about him was he was all about, I'm here. I want to be here. I wanted to be here pre-draft. I want to change the culture. I want to change the team. And although I still think it was a good deal for the Kings, I like the value. I am 100% open to the fact that 3-4 years from now, when Domantas Sabonis is playing for the Clippers, and Tyrese Halliburton's on his 2nd straight All-Star team in Indiana. Again, that's the luck of Sacramento. That's in play, and that may just be yet another one of the parts of our soul we sold to the devil to keep this team from going to Seattle in 2012, which I'm firmly convinced happened.
When Mike Brown stepped in for Kerr early in the playoffs and the Warriors lost a couple games, were you getting calls from Kings fans going, what the hell did we just do hiring this guy? Or were people keeping it in proper perspective?
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, Krueg, it's one of those things where, Mike Brown might be the most. I don't know. I personally, I wanted Will Hardy, who ended up going to Utah. They looked at D'Antoni a little bit, who would have been fun offensively, but again, no defense.
Mark Jackson, right?
Well, no, God, no. Oh my God, no. I almost took out a billboard with my own money saying I'd rather have Vlade Divac come back and coach this team than and it wasn't so much that Mark Jackson's Mark Jackson-y, if you will. It's that Mark Jackson would be the absolute worst match. A guy who has a documented history of creating multiple coups within franchises is going to be the worst possible match for this ownership group and front office to deal with. It was never going to work with Mark in Sacramento. Mike Brown was probably most people's 3rd or 4th choice. Nice guy, respected guy, defensive oriented. Yeah, that's great. But you're also talking about the same franchise that fired Michael Malone because he didn't know how to run an offense, and DeMarcus Cousins had spinal meningitis at the time. It's one of those things, man, where and I'll close it out like this. The analogy I always use when it comes to the coach of the Kings is I know my way around the kitchen, but I'm no chef. Take one of the best chefs in the world. I don't know, Gordon Ramsay, whatever. If he and I are each cooking a meal for 20 people, and I'm giving filet mignon, maybe some Wagyu beef, some wonderful ingredients, and Gordon Ramsay's given like summer sausage and a Triscuit. I'm going to look like an amazing chef. I'm going to kick the hell out of Gordon Ramsay, but that doesn't mean I'm a better chef. It means I had better ingredients. It doesn't matter who's coaching the Kings when you have little cohesion and little talent. And until the day comes where they have people that can play defense, that buy in, that are accountable, that hold each other up to a standard, doesn't you bring Red Auerbach, the ghost of Red Auerbach in here, it's not going to make a difference at all.
Rye, Danny, you got one last one for Dave before I ask him the final question?
Sure. I got a question for you. Pat Bev was included in this deal from Minnesota to Utah. Could you see him getting bought out there and maybe a team like the Warriors picking him up since they lost GP2?
I mean, he gets bought out. Yes, I could see that. I think Patrick still has a lot to offer, and as a guy, by the way, speaking of, that would be perfect in Sacramento. That type of there's not a lot of players like Patrick Beverley in the NBA, and I'm not talking about numerically. Marcus Smart, Draymond Green, Patrick Beverley, even to a point Chris Paul, and they're all different players with different numbers, but they're dogs. They're getting the head of the opponent. They're not going to get pushed around, and that's a very important position to have on your team. And obviously, I mentioned one on the Warriors and Draymond. Adding Patrick Beverley to that team would just make them so much even more mean and nasty and gritty and all that. But kind of like what we talked about earlier, he'd have to sign on the vet minimum, because you sign Patrick Beverley to a $5 million deal, let's say. Joe Lacob's paying $35 million for Patrick Beverley.
Right. But if he got bought out, he probably could sign that vet minimum.
Probably, and that's a place he'd want to go to. I think he'd be a wonderful fit for the Warriors. And I'm sitting here talking about it and breaking it down, and I'm hanging out here this weekend with another family of which they're both diehard Warrior fans, and I just want to stab him. I want to stab him in the eye with a fork, because they're dining on filet mignon, and meanwhile we get Malik Monk, and we're like, oh my God, Hall of Fame, here we come. You know?
Hey, Dave, back in the day, I can remember high-fiving a guy next to me because the Warriors traded for Larry Hughes. Okay, so you know what? It's a process. Rye, you got one more for Dave before I send him out with my sack question of the night?
I don't know. I guess I would just ask, what would you say the odds are that the Kings make the playoffs next year? I'm including the play-in game.
On a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being no chance, and 10 being no, I'm going to give you a real answer. I'd say like a 3.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say. It's just math. People can get hurt. Everybody can have a career year. There's a lot of stuff that could happen, but just logically looking at it, are they going to be better than Portland next year? I don't think so. Are they going to be better than the Lakers? Is LeBron James and Anthony Davis and whatever the hell else they do really? Yeah, Kings were 20 games under 500 or 18 games under 500 last year. I think they'll be better. I think they'll have a better record. I think they're going to be, they'll pass up San Antonio, Houston, Oklahoma City. If Utah goes full rebuild like Brian Windhorst thinks, maybe that's another one. But you got to get past LA. You got to get past Portland. And I don't see any of those other teams above them. I don't see New Orleans. I don't see Dallas. I don't see any of those other teams falling. So barring some sort of crazy miracle, I think they'll be a fun team to watch. I think they'll be in contention for most of the year, but ultimately outside looking in year 17.
If the Kings make the playoffs, it will be injury aided from other clubs, probably in front of them, falling to some key injuries. But if they put themselves in the right position, they might be there to capitalize if something like that happens. All right, Dave, last one for you. And I really enjoyed I'm going to be in Sac on 4th of July. I'll be up in Natomas. Supposedly it's going to be a mild day. But Natomas, one thing you can do that you can't do in Contra Costa County is you can light off all kinds of fireworks. It's beautiful. It's a wonderful place. So we'll be there. We'll barbecue. We'll see the judge, my brother, and his family, and we'll get along for the one day. But here's the question for you. As a man who's spent how many years now have you lived in Sacramento?
I've lived in Sacramento all but 3 years of my life. 2 in Omaha, 1 in St. Paul, Minnesota. The rest of the time here. So let's see, approximately 26 years.
You are an expert in Sac. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
You're going to have your dream day in Sacramento, your dream weekend, okay? On Saturday, you're going to play golf where, you're going to have dinner where, and you're going to go back to your home where?
Oh, God.
Your dream Saturday, you're golfing anywhere you want in Sac, you're eating anywhere you want, and you're living anywhere you want in Sac. Where are you going? Where are you golfing? Where are you eating? Where are you living?
Since you said Sac, that means my club, Winchester, up in Meadow Vista, can't do that. So,
okay.
Yochadehi can't do that. I'll go to Northridge, right off of Madison Avenue. That track is looking real swell.
Okay.
For dinner, I'm going to surprise you because I could say this is such a Sacramento answer. Like I could be like, oh, I'll go to Mulvaney's, or I'll go to the kitchen, or I'll go to one of these super awesome, like, you know what I'm doing, Krug? I'm going to Thunder Valley, baby, on Friday night. I'm getting all you can eat crab. All right. And all I'm eating is the crab. I'm not eating any of the fillers. And I'm going to go get the clarified butter that everybody puts in the little ramekins. I'm not doing that. That's a rookie move. I'm going to get a soup bowl, and I'm going to ladle the butter in the soup bowl, okay? And I'm going to put the bib on, and I'm just going to eat so much crab that I test positive for an STD afterwards. And then and then
where are you crashing? Where's your abode?
Oh, let's see. My wife. Where do we want to live again?
Live anywhere. You can live in the Fab 40s. You can live on American River Drive. You can live out by Jesuit and Carmichael.
Yeah.
You are Carmichael Dave.
I am Carmichael Dave, Larry, but seriously, Carmichael's not what it was, man. There's like a sliver of Carmichael left, and the rest are like weird apartments. I am probably, you know what, dude?
Are you going to change to Natomas Dave or
Roseville Dave? Yeah,
Garden Highway Dave.
No, because they'd have to reprint all the merch and get all the trademarks changed. New mascot. I'm probably crashing out in my McMansion, either in Los Lagos or Morgan Creek, dude. And I'm calling it a day. And you know what? I know you got a huge Bay Area contingent. I'm so tired of the Bay Area crowd selling their 1-bedroom, 1-bath house for $1.6 million and then coming and dropping a cash offer on every single good house in Sacramento. Stay in the Bay. The weather is better. You have better teams. Get out of here.
All right. And the last one. So that was your Saturday. Now it's Sunday. What is the most fun thing to do in Sacramento in your mind? You got a free day. You just, the day before, you just golfed and ate and went back to your pimp pad. Now it's Sunday and you can do anything you want in Sac, and we'll give you any month of the year. It's what month and what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing now that Michael Papirski's no longer with the Giants in Sacramento?
Yeah, now that Papirski's no longer a River Cat, what's plan B?
Oh, let's see. Again, I'm going to disappoint you because there's like so many rad things to do up here. I can say like I'm going to rent out Coin Op and play a bunch of 80s era video. I'm going to be just mashing it up on Paperboy and Spy Hunter, or I could go rafting. Listen, I can give you 90 answers. You know what I'm doing? I'm at my Morgan Creek pad. I'm popping on a DVR of the UFC because I fell asleep early the night before watching it. I got a brisket on my Traeger, and I got my friends over. We're gonna play a marathon round of spades while trying not to burst into flames in the 100-degree weather. But you know what? It's my home. I love it. That's the type of stuff I love to do. And as you said, Larry, Brad Miller, Doug Christie, Bobby Jackson. Hell, Chris Webber was crying when he got traded to Sacramento, and this ended up being his favorite. It's just something about this city that grows on you. It's enjoyable, and I'm perfectly fine with nobody else figuring it out. You obviously know you've got deep roots here, but I'm perfectly fine with being a laughing stock. That means that it's less traffic,
Okay, here's my dream Sunday, and I'm doing it right now, 4th of July weekend. By the way, Ranger 44 in the chat says, I live right off of American River Drive. LOL. There you go. You're a fortunate man, Ranger 44. Now that I know that, I'm expecting greater donations from Ranger 44. That's American River Drive. Okay, here's what I'm doing. It's Sunday. I'm parking parking one car at Sac State. I'm parking another car, either Coloma or Sunrise. And I'm driving my Jeep CJ7 down onto the rocks by Sac State, and I'm taking 2 or 3 of my best friends, and we're linking up some inner tubes, throwing some ice in one, throwing some beers in a bunch, and just floating. I'm floating through Sac on a 100-degree day, with my buddies. That's
are you getting off at? Are you getting off at Sarah Park, Ansel Hoffman? Or are you going all the way to Watt Avenue, baby?
No, forget Watt Avenue. I'd like to go to Howe Avenue. I'd like to go down by Sac State.
You better roll around in some sunscreen, dude.
I was gonna say, I know.
Seriously. I'm gonna be seriously sunburned, but maybe there's a rope swing or two I can jump off, and I could probably do some damage. So
careful on those great San Juan Rapids, dude.
Exactly. Those were some of the greatest days until, we had a few too many beers. And then pretty much, before we got to Howe Avenue, somebody was fighting somebody else. I mean, nothing worse than drunken fools fighting in a foot and a half of water. But
that's how we liked it. And that's how we liked it.
Yeah,
we fought and we drowned and we squirted each other with old Schlitz malt liquor. And that's how we liked it, Larry.
Exactly. Tell stories about Big Ben Guillory and Travis Mays. Anthony Bonner would have been somebody if he had just had a jumper.
Dwayne Coswell for life, baby.
The best interview on draft day in the history of Sacramento was, I think, John. Who was it? John. Maybe it was Stuart Satow that interviewed Lionel Simmons, and he said, "They call you the light. They call you the L train, but here we have the light rail. Could we switch your nickname to the light rail?" The look on the L train's face, who came from Philly, and he was known as the L train, as the idea that he would be called the light rail. I mean, it was a beautiful moment in Sacramento sports history, Dave. That's all I got to say.
A kid out of LaSalle, number 7 pick, and then what happens? He ends up coining the term Nintendonitis because he was pounding Super Mario Brothers so much that he's the first player ever in the history of sports to literally miss weeks because of tendonitis from playing too much Nintendo. That's Lionel Simmons' mark on the NBA.
Dave, you're the man. Pimp your show. Tell people where they can find you. You do a great job on the radio. You have for years. Tell us about when and where we can hear your show.
Well, it's we rebranded, Larry, and now we've changed the landscape in sports talk in Sacramento forever. That's the tagline. It's Sacktown Sports 1140. They've pushed KHTK to the side because now we're multimedia, so you can download the app, you can tune in. My car doesn't even get AM anymore. I have to go to KYMX HD3 to listen to my own station. So the corporate folks were smart and decided to rebrand. So 6 to 9 a.m. Monday through Friday. Watch us on YouTube. Don't. There's a reason we're on radio, not television. Forgive us. And Monday through Friday, we'll be back. I'll be back next Thursday, dude. I'm taking some time off. So
there you go. Go. Well, hey, I told you 20 minutes, and we took like probably 5 times that. So hopefully you're okay with that. But it's good to hear your voice, brother, and always good to talk ball with you. And when I'm in Sac, I love enjoying your show, and keep it rolling, man. Onward and upward.
Miss the hell out of you, dude. You're a legend. You know that. You're one of my mentors growing up. You know that for a fact. You've always been good to me. You've always given me advice, and I cannot wait to see you again. You've always got a home up there, on air, off air, anytime you want. And fellas, take care of Krueg for us, would you?
We will. Thanks so much.
The great Carmichael Dave. Dave, have a great night.
You too, brothers. Take care.
All right, there you go, Carmichael Dave.
Watch those coyotes too.
What's that?
Watch those coyotes out there.
I'm not gonna lie. It was kind of. I mean, coming off just such a bummer and depressing Giants game, it was nice to hear. That was a little like, okay, we need to reorient ourselves. We just won a title. We have like a very exciting, Niners thing coming. Like, it could be worse. We could be things.
Exactly. I mean, well, and we wouldn't have switched gears if Ned wasn't ill, but Ned couldn't come on tonight, so we wanted to go in a different direction. And I just thought, man, with the Giants game, do we want to sit here and pound the Giants game? I mean, it was a 1-0 game. It was an error at the end. It was a frustrating game to watch. The Giants are having offensive struggles right now. They're in what should be the go part of their season, and they're not going. going. And so that's a little frustrating to watch for sure. And I'm sure there's a lot of Giants fans who are like, what the hell? I was going to ask what the hell about why did he pull Cobb? But now that I know that it sounds like Cobb maybe had a recurrence of the groin pull, maybe that explains it right there.
Well, who's been their hottest hitter in the last week?
Who has been their hottest hitter?
Yeah, this is
Longoria, right?
Yeah, where was he tonight?
Oh, look at you. Look at Danny. Danny wants to go for the jugular against Cap.
No, I'm just saying, got him on the bench. I mean, I've been on Longoria's case, but he's hot, so play him.
He's scorching. He's the one guy that's scorching.
Why did he sit? Why did he sit for Vosler?
Because Vosler's better, right? I mean,
Vosler has a minus arm and a
Vosler's better than Longoria.
I'm talking Geek Squad up there in the behind the scenes, pushing the buttons and telling, reporting to Farhan who should play when and where they should be positioned, and it's all run by numbers now. So Vosler looks, there's no room.
Well, here's a number for you: 3 hits and 29 at bats. That was the Giants lineup tonight. 3 hits and 29 plate appearances.
It's just getting to be like, okay, I could see playing Vosler for Longoria many days, especially 3 weeks ago. But I've been on Longoria's case and saying the Giants should move on, DFA him, and I'm still going to hold to that. But right now he's hot, so play him.
Yeah, seriously, play the hot hand, Kapler. My goodness. He was asked, have you heard, by the way, some of the Q&As involving Kapler and the Giants media corps?
I haven't had a great chance.
I mean, these people soft pedals. Everybody's so concerned about angering Cap. It's amazing. It's like, did you think that maybe when you pulled Peterson, that when his spot came up and the bases were loaded, that maybe you would have liked to have still had him in the game, possibly? It's like, what? That, just say it. Just say it. Peterson's one of your best bats, and yanked him for a guy who's not doing. Voting. Yeah, I mean, he's borderline your all-star, and you yanked him for a guy who's got lower numbers against righties, lefties. What's left besides righties and lefties? You know what I mean? So you basically pulled him, and then he's like, well, I've got confidence in Austin Slater, and Slater's given us some great at-bats and blah, 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 blah.
Jock makes the all-star team.
He's spinning it, but I mean, my goodness, I don't know why that question can't be a little bit more direct. Like, hey, on this lineup, it looks like Peterson's one of your best sticks, and you yanked him in the 5th and could have used him later. I mean, my goodness, it's amazing. Everybody's so on edge, like Cap is going to freaking go off and bite your head off. It's baseball. You can question some things. I just think it's interesting. It just shows that the culture that has been cultivated around the Giants right now is that, you have to be real kind of measured and soft and, just like you can't make any kind of like statement with your question. It's got to be just, give me your thinking generally. I mean, why is that such a tough one? Slater's numbers aren't as good as Jock's numbers. Jock's having an incredible first half. It seems to me you'd want to give Jock as many at bats as possible, especially in like a 1 or 2 run game, right? Why did you pull him out there? Did you regret it later in the game? Just a straight question. And it just, he's, it seems like everybody's kind of like he's on the verge of blowing up at you. Like I can't possibly ask that question straight because he might bite my head off.
Well, here's the thing.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just not sensing the intensity around the club or whatever. It just seems to me maybe there's a lot more. Maybe he has bitten people's heads off in the past, and that they're all a little sensitive to it. I don't know.
I mean, the umpires, the umpires would say otherwise. The guy,
he goes out there. He's very measured all the time.
Okay, so this is you know what, Larry? Now you're getting me fired up. We've had I felt a little tired. There's been a lot of packing. I've got a big weekend, Newport, whatever. You got me fired up. Okay, we've been complaining about where's the mission statement? What is going on? What is the point of this season? What are we aiming towards? We want to know all these things. And you know what? Maybe it's not on them. Maybe it's on our media, because I have no idea what Kapler's thinking. I don't know. Like, when they ask these questions, I want someone to be like, okay, when you took Jock Peterson out, when you put Darren Ruff in, another lefty, was that because the computers told you there was some sort of advantage there? Is that why you did it? And if not, what was your thinking? Why did you make that decision? Because I don't think he would be able to answer it. I don't think he had. I do think it's just like a computer thing or whatever. That's just what they're used to, or they've pre-decided. I'm not sure, but like I don't understand any of the thought process of the manager. I don't know what any of the front office people are thinking about the season, the ownership. I don't know where everything's going. And at this point, when we're rolling out guys like Vossler and Mercedes, and it's like, when Wade's back, when Slater's back, and it's just like everybody's just so, as the kids would say, mid. Our entire roster is mid. It is so mid. And I was just looking at the 40 man, and at this point, if we're just gonna not hit, if we're just gonna have a bunch of guys that can't hit, why don't we at least make them young guys who have the chance of showing something or gaining experience in the bigs, instead of just rolling out these, as Pat Bev would say, basically traffic cones. I mean, these guys aren't here for the long term. They're not going to be here in a couple of years. So why don't we just start bringing up young guys? Okay, DeSclafani's injured. Maybe Cobb's injured. Let's start bringing up some of the guys. Let's expedite the process, and whatever. We're already losing. So like, at least let's gain something out of it. That's what I'm thinking now.
Makes sense. But the problem is they're just a game back of the wild card, so they consider that. They say, well, we're 40-35, so we still have almost 90 games left in the season, and anything can turn around. That's their mindset. Their mindset is to stay in the race and then see if we're ready at the August 2nd deadline to make a move.
There's no chance that they sell off. It's only they're in a buy mode for sure.
Yeah. So,
I mean, it is frustrating because you're sitting there going, okay. I mean, La Stella is your DH, really? I mean, look, their DH was Andrew Vaughn. Your DH is Tommy La Stella. I mean, that ain't any good. I mean, a middle infielder is without a lot of power is your DH, and you're hitting your DH at the bottom of the lineup, sort of. I mean, I don't know. Vossler, minor leaguer, Wins, minor leaguer. He might be a little bit better than a minor leaguer, but borderline big leaguer. But Vossler's
call him 4A.
Vossler's a minor leaguer. I'm not kidding. I mean, Lamont Wade, they treat Lamont Wade like he's a star. Lamont Wade's hitting 212, and before last year had never really established himself in the major leagues, and he's your leadoff hitter and like your everyday guy in right field now. I don't know about that. So it's just they're in a weird spot. As Danny said, they're right there in contention. They're not going to sell anything. They're 5 games over 500, and they're probably. I mean, it kind of is what it is. I mean, their prospects are in the minors. They're not ready to be promoted. They don't have anything that anybody else really wants that they're willing to trade. So they don't, they're in kind of a weird spot. They have payroll flexibility if they could find the right player who's making a lot of money, who shakes free, but it's, we'll see if they take on money in July. We'll see exactly if they do, how much. I will say this on a side note, just watching Andrew Vaughn hit, he had that beautiful double tonight. He's hitting 306 with a 358 on base. That's the kind of guy that I would want to invest in. Yeah, as far as give me a guy. Yeah, I mean, there's the guy to invest in. There's the guy he's born in Santa Rosa. He went to Cal. He's been a pure hitter for years. He's 24. He's hitting 306 with 7 homers and 33 RBIs. He's got a beautiful stroke. That double in the gap. I mean, you look at this kid swing the bat, and he's made for the ballpark. absolutely made for the ballpark. You put Andrew Vaughn in this ballpark, he would have a 50 double season. It's got big open spaces. He's great at finding the gaps and driving the ball through the gaps. That's the guy to make a big play for. They've got a ton of guys, Abreu and Luis Robert, and they just got a lot of talent. But Andrew Vaughn is absolutely. I said the other day Rhys Hoskins, and I love Rhys Hoskins, and I'm a little partial because he's a Sac State guy, and I went to Sac State. But if the Giants are looking for who's that, they're looking to trade for a young veteran at any point, trade for Andrew Vaughn. Give the White Sox whatever bounty they want of young players and add a guy like Andrew Vaughn, because Belt's old, and maybe you could DH Belt for a couple years and let Vaughn play first base. And now you got a right-handed hitter who's perfect for your park, who you can hit second or third or fourth, for the next 10 years.
Oh, Vaughn would be great. I was hoping
that's the kind of player to go after right there.
Man, I was just hoping that the year he came out that the Giants had one of the top picks, but they were a year off, I believe.
Hell of this, hell of that. Says, how you getting Vaughn? No, I get it. It's not easy. You're gonna have to make a trade, and you're gonna have to offer them something of significance and probably several pieces. But I'm just saying, we had talked about Soto. You saw the news today. Soto and the Nationals are discussing a 13-year, $425 million extension. So he's not going anywhere.
Well, here's the deal on that. I think it's very smart that Washington has come up $75 million because they offered $350 prior. So they've come up to $425. And I think it's wonderful timing. And I don't think it's by coincidence. I think they're testing to see if Soto will take the money, because if he doesn't, then maybe they realize he's going to walk in a couple years, and maybe they trade him while they can get the top amount of back, because he's still signed for 23 and 24.
I mean, think about that, by the way. Think about that. Somebody's offering you $425 million. Okay. And and your livelihood is your body. Like, anybody could be in a car accident tomorrow. Anybody could step off a corner and rip an Achilles out. Anybody. I mean, a buddy of mine played golf, and then put his clubs in his trunk and put his flip-flops on. And they said, "Oh, we're going to have a little putting contest." So he walked with his flip-flops over to the green and putt, and was in this putting contest, and then jumped up at the end of his putt because he thought it was going in, tore his Achilles. Oh my God. Tore his Achilles. So what if he's a pro athlete? I mean, could you imagine turning down $425 million and then all of a sudden you wake up and you're like, man, I think I heard something in my shoulder. I can't really throw hard anymore. Right? I don't feel the same anymore. Whatever. Somebody offers you 13 years and $425 million. Where's the paper? Sign it. Right? Well, yeah. And who cares what team you're on? Let them trade you if they don't like you. You know what I mean? It's like, sign that deal.
If he thinks he's worth more, I mean, his agent's Boros, right?
But I mean, Danny, okay, let's say he's
signing
it. $425 million. By the way, you know what today is, fellas? You know what day today is?
July what?
July 1st. But you know what that day symbolizes? It is Bobby Bonilla Day.
Oh, that's right.
Bobby Bonilla today makes $1.19 million. He makes it every July 1st. He hasn't played with the Mets since '99. Hasn't played in the big leagues since he was with the Cardinals in 2001, I believe. Every year, basically in 2000, the Mets bought out the remaining $5.9 million on his contract. Instead of paying him the $5.9 million, they agreed to pay him $1.19 million deferred with interest there. That is for 25 years. So he is getting paid. He's 59 years old, and he is getting paid from 2011 through 2035, $1.19 million every July 1st.
Unbelievable.
That's Bobby Bonilla Day.
Yeah. So I mean,
genius, Danny Hunt. Genius.
Yeah. No, I'm just thinking it's genius of the Nationals to make that offer now with 1 month to go before the trade deadline. They are going to negotiate and try and get him signed now for that 13 years. And if he doesn't sign, I got to believe that they're thinking of trading him. That's my thinking. My thinking is if I'm the
it makes sense. It makes sense. Hey, we'll throw out a huge, monstrous dollar figure, and if he's not willing to sign it, then you know what? We'll explore trades. I don't know if I'd explore it right away, but I mean, how would that would be such a weird feeling if you're the owner. Here's a monster deal for $425 million. You know what? I'm just going to gamble on myself. I think I can make more than that. What?
He probably could, though. I mean, the Dodgers.
Yeah, but what does he have? What does he have today? What does he have today? I mean, if I was his agent, I'd be like, dude, what do you have in the bank today? $425 million. I mean, was it David West who said it? You can't take it to your grave. How many, what are you going to do with all that cash? You got more money than you can ever want. You got generational wealth.
Yeah.
I mean if somebody's going to offer you $425 million, you got to take that.
Yeah. He's probably being told or he's probably looking at like the Cunha deal and being like,
I mean, if I'm the Giants and you were able to trade for him, I give him $45 million a year for 10 years, and then say, look, at 33, you can make another load of cash. At 33, 10 years from now, you could sign probably a 5-year deal for another $200 million. But
here's the problem. Also, at this point, why would Soto come to San Francisco?
Well, I mean, it's got a nucleus of a minor league system that's growing. It's got
a nucleus of a minor league system that's growing.
It does, and it's got vets. They can attract free agents.
What nucleus? If he's looking and he's like, I want to win a World Series, and he looks at the Giants roster and he's like, wow, that's an up. You know what? That's an up-and-coming roster.
I mean, okay, here would be the argument. The argument is that the Giants are an organization that knows how. They won 3 World Series titles, within a 5-year period, and it wasn't, centuries ago. It was somewhat recently. But I agree with you, Rye. I mean, look at the roster. What are you joining? You're not joining it. Why would you join this lineup? You're going to be pitched around constantly. You come here to set what? Though you're going to take on Barry Bonds' walk record. I mean, what exactly? You're going to be. I mean, if the Giants had Soto and there were, this just in. If you hit Wilmer Flores behind Soto, they're going to walk Soto. If you hit Darren Ruff behind Soto, they're going to walk Soto. If you hit Slater behind Soto, they're going to walk Soto. And those are the guys you have hitting 3, 4, 5 in your lineup right now. So I agree wholeheartedly with Ryan.
Getting back to the whole thing with Jock, what really upset me tonight is his spot comes up. We got leadoff. What was it? A leadoff walk? Okay. Nobody out, leadoff walk. You pinch hit Ruff for Jock,
and Jock's head was Jock was going like this when they panned to him in the 9th. He just looked like, my God, I like frustrated.
Why didn't they bring up Jock? And the worst he maybe does is hit.
You're talking about the 8th. You said the 9th.
8th inning.
Yeah,
I mean, bring him up. Jock was shown in the 9th, but 8th inning, bottom of the 8th. Bat Jock, and here's the thing: Jock is they're going to put the shift on, so you could easily bunt and make it at least a sacrifice bunt. At worst, he might beat it out, and you have first and second, nobody out, or you got a guy on second with 1 out. You're in a 0-0 game in the bottom of the 8th. You've got your closer to come in. You need 1 run. You haven't threatened all night. You haven't even had a guy. You had the second. Was it the bottom of the first? After 2 out, they loaded the bases, right? Was it the first inning or the second? First or second? They loaded the bases, but all after 2 outs, and then I think it was LaStella struck out. So,
lefties are hitting 212 off Banks.
So bunt. Bring up.
But that's it. You want to know? That's it right there. I mean, lefties are hitting 212 off banks, and righties are hitting 232.
Oh,
I mean,
big deal. 20,
yeah. I mean, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about more lefty righty games. I'm with you. I'm not arguing with Kapler in this one. I think Kapler's crazy. I mean, let's be honest. Think about what we're talking about here. Darren Ruff has had a nightmarish first half of the year. He's hitting 219. He's ice cold. 219, 6 home runs, 26 RBIs. We're also talking about a 35-year-old player who's, what is Darren Ruff as a big leaguer? Okay, now I realize he's on the team to hit against left-handed pitching, but make the adjustment. Jock Peterson is not hitting 219. He's hitting 272. And let's look at Jock's splits for a second this year again. Jock's hitting 272, 17 home runs, 39 RBIs. What's he doing lefty-righty wise? Against lefties, he's hitting 259. Against righties, he's hitting 279. But I mean, my goodness.
Well, there's your percentages right there. You're looking at 212, this pitcher's they're hitting 212 off the lefty versus 232 on the right. You're talking, put it in real numbers. You're talking a 21% chance versus a 23% chance of getting, that's the difference. 2 percentage points. Not.
Do you guys want to hear? This is
just don't overthink. All I would say back to you, don't overthink it. You know what I mean? Don't overthink it. Darren Ruff, if you go up to 100 knowledgeable Giants fans, Darren Ruff, bad first half. Jock Peterson, really good first half, maybe an all-star. Now you got a key situation in the 8th inning against a lefty, and you got Peterson coming up, and you're going to sit him down for Darren Ruff, ice-cold Darren Ruff. I agree. You need to get Darren Ruff going. Get him going at 4 o'clock. Don't get him going at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock with the game on the line, and get him going at 4 o'clock. And let's see it. Let's see him get going before you start sitting down your one all-star bat, the one guy who can pop a home run, and you need an extra base hit, and you're yanking him for a guy who's in the deep freeze. My goodness. I mean, that's overthink. Play the hot hand.
How do you think that makes Jock feel? How do you think that makes a guy like Juan Soto looking on? Okay, they have one guy that is exciting, that is going to be an all-star. He's going to be our one representative player.
He's also right. He's also come up big in big moments, right? He loves the moment.
Analytics guys don't believe in big moments. They don't believe in some guys.
There's no such thing as a big moment.
Some geek upstairs is pushing buttons. I think
it was one of these 3:30 in the afternoon decisions that, if we get a chance in the late innings, we'll pinch hit Ruff against the lefty.
I'm going to play his response. So we can.
You know what? While you're getting that ready, I think if Gabe was managing the All-Star team and Jock made it, and a lefty was pitching, I think he was. I know this is your first at-bat attempt in the All-Star game.
I know you want to get in the All-Star game, but
I'm going to platoon you. I'm going to put a pinch hitter in. I mean, golly.
Okay. Here we go.
Pinch hitting Darren Ruff for Jock in the 8th.
Mm-hmm.
How difficult a decision was that?
Yeah, it's tough. Earlier in the game, if one of the things I think we're prepared to do is hang in there with Jock and some of our other lefties if Banks comes in the 6th or the 5th inning, right? Sort of avoid that next right-handed pitcher that you don't have the platoon advantage on. Similar, the Slater situation the other day. Looking to avoid that. In this particular case, Darren has just been so good. Slater has been so good against left-handed pitching. And look, I mean, it's hard to do better than 1 for 2 in that situation. We had 2 pinch hitters go up there. One of them reached base. The other one hit a rocket on the ground, turned into a double play. I don't think any of us are going to hang our heads. I think we're definitely have a ton of belief in Slater and Ruff in those situations, and we have a lot of faith in Jock, but felt like that was the best possible matchup.
Slater is hitting 244 against righties. He's hitting 239 against lefties. Those are the numbers.
You don't have a lot of faith in Jock. That's
just crazy.
If you had faith in Jock, you would let him bat.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's, you stated that Jock rakes. He's got 17 home runs. He comes up big in big situations. He lives to be in those situations. Then you got a guy in rough who's in a deep freeze and hits the ball hard, but also is a highly likely candidate to be doubled up. And he was doubled up. He had a key double play, and that was the key sequence in the game. And the crowd made a groan after that double play because the game was like, oh. You kidding me? That was an opportunity right there.
What's rough hitting against lefties?
What's rough hitting against lefties? I'll tell you. I think I just told you, didn't I tell you?
You gave us Slater.
250 against lefties, 204 against righties.
Play the numbers then, Geek Squad. Jock's hitting 259 against lefties.
Right, but here's the thing: everybody knows that somebody's going to be unhappy, right? Because Darren Ruff is on this team to hit in those situations against key lefties. That's why he's on the club. So I get it, but that's the preseason. That's the preseason evaluation. Then there's the season, and now we're in the season. And Ruff's had tragedy in his personal life, and obviously everybody's hopeful that he emotionally is getting through it, but he's had a tough first half as far as off the field, and then he's had a nightmarish first half on the field. Peterson, on the other hand, is having a really strong first half, borderline all-star first half, and he's kind of that guy who you want in the big moment because he's played in the World Series, and he's hit in October in a lot of big moments and come through. So guess what? Once you've come through in big moments in October, big moments in May and June and July aren't all that big. And so, you know what? I want Jock Peterson up in those situations, and instead we're playing lefty-righty games probably decided at 3:30. And that's what bugs me.
Here's another thing that bugs me about this, Larry. You're in the 8th inning. You're not putting in Ruff for Lamont Wade, who cannot hit at all against left-handed pitching, even Yaz, or you're talking about Jock Peterson, your best hitter of the first half besides Gonzalez. So why are you – I understand Ruff is on the bench for that purpose, but you're in a 0-0 game. You don't know what might happen in the 10th inning. If this stays 0-0 – and they don't score, give up any runs like they shouldn't have given in the 9th. In the 10th inning, Jock's spot would have come up again, and that lefty's already out of the game. Now you got a right-handed pitcher probably coming up to face Jock because it's just, you weren't down a run. You were in a 0-0 game. Home team has the advantage. Save Ruff for when you really, really need you're down a run and you need a home run or something.
Well, and also you got other guys in this lineup that
that could have come up and probably not hit into a double play.
But you got other guys in the line. I mean, it's not like this is a lineup of murderers row and Jock's your weak spot. This is a Punch and Judy lineup for the most part, and Peterson's your thunder. So why are you pinch hitting a 219 guy for your thunder? I mean, it just makes no sense at all. If this were the 27 Yankees and then you got Jock Peterson hitting 272, maybe, this is some big red machine, maybe. But when he's driving the bus offensively for you, and he has, it's a slap in his face to send up 219 Darren Ruff to pinch hit in that situation, and it failed. So I mean, I understand the game plan in spring training, but make the adjustment. Yeah. It's July.
You know what this also says about the Giants? And this is on Farhan. You don't have a guy in the lineup anywhere that is a Aaron Judge, a Juan Soto, a Mookie Betts, an everyday player that is a threat. You don't have them. If you have to pinch hit for Jock Peterson, your best hitter, in a key situation, tells me You don't have any real good players. You have a bunch of platoon guys that you're trying to mix and match and stay competitive and see if you can get into the playoffs. And, if you're the San Francisco Giants, one of the largest markets in America, you got New York, LA, and the Giants, as far as I'm concerned, those and Boston. Those are your top markets in baseball that should have 200 plus million. We should have a star. And, when are we going to get a star? We had Posey for 10 great seasons. He announced his retirement. Go get a star. I mean, this mix and match of a team that is capable, you have fan support. If you put a competitive team out there with a star, you'll draw 40,000 a night.
Well, it's not just a star, it's a faceless team. They have no face. It's a 107 win team that has no real face of the team. They lost it in Posey, and they don't really have a new face of the team. I mean, I think that's a big thing as far as why the attendance has been so flat. This team won 107 games. Then, of course, the lockout didn't help. But, I mean, the 107 wins, you would have thought there would be some excitement. But in this market, people, that they said to themselves, okay, that was last year. We'll see what they are this year. And then we're less than impressed with this year's roster. And this year, the kind of team that they have, the only reason that you would go out there to see them is if you really cared about, the winning and the losing part of it, because there's not anybody that I got to see that guy. You know what I mean? I got to see that guy. There is no Barry Bonds. There's nobody like, hey man, I don't care what their record is. I got to go see this guy. They don't have I got to go see this guy on the team. And that's what we're talking about. They don't have that guy that makes you go, you know what? Yeah. You know what? It's a cold night in San Francisco and the fog is creeping in and there's a million other things I can spend my disposable income on. But you know what? I don't care. I'm getting 2 tickets and I'm going tonight. Why? Because I got to see player X. They don't have that. They don't have that player.
Don't have that, and the closest they have is probably Logan Webb and Jock. And if I'm the Giants and I'm running the club and I've head of marketing and I'm telling people, I'm saying we got to bury a guy that's coming off 2 back-to-back World Series championships with 2 different teams. He's a great personality. He's a great guy. He loves the Bay Area. He loves the Warriors. He attended the championship game 6 in Boston. He's just a great all-around guy. Let's market the heck out of Jock Peterson and put him in the lineup every day until he sinks or swims. Right now, he's proving himself. I say play him every day unless he's facing a tough lefty that he has a horrible track record with, like Brandon.
I'd go as far as to say that Romo 2001 says the Pirates have a more exciting team than the Giants. Sure. I would say that if we really went down every single team in the big leagues, every single team in the big leagues has somebody that's like, man, you got to check that guy out, except this one. Seriously, every single team in the big leagues. You name a team, I'll find somebody that absolutely you got to see. Go down this list. Wade, Slater, Jock, Ruff, Flores, Belt, Yaz. Now, Yaz did make a great catch tonight, but he's hard. He's a 241, guy who, they reclaimed out of the Orioles minor league system. LaStella, Vossler, Wins, Walton, Cobb, Brebbia, Rogers, Leone, Doval. Maybe Doval, you could say, is like, man, I would love to see Doval. He's pretty, 100 miles an hour, pretty nasty stuff. But they don't have a regular. Now look at the White Sox. Tyler Anderson, Andrew Vaughn, Luis Robert, Jose Abreu, Yohan Moncada. I mean, these guys, those guys right there. Moncada's hitting 176, but Abreu, Luis Robert, Andrew Vaughn, Anderson. They've got some guys. They got some guys right there. And you could say, and basically, you name a team Name a team in the big leagues, and I guarantee you they have one or two guys that you would say, take even Pittsburgh. You got Pittsburgh. They still have Cabrian Hayes. They still got Brian Reynolds. I mean, those guys are fun to watch. What's that? They got that shortstop, O'Neill Cruz. He's hitting 217, but he throws at 100 miles an hour. I mean, they've got some guys.
Yeah, you're talking everyday lineup. I don't know who the A's would have. Who would you put, Laureano, or who would be their guy?
Well, I mean, first of all, Frankie Montas, I think he throws some high 90s. I mean, he's an overpowering guy.
And that's with them actively trying to get rid of all of their guys.
Yeah, I mean, Laureano probably. I mean, I'll tell you this. I love the kid that led off tonight for the A's, Nick Allen, a young infielder who's a small guy, but he's fast and fun to watch. He's a lot of fun to watch for sure. I mean, but yeah, they're a team in the middle of a fire sale. And they still got Ramon Laureano.
I mean, let me ask you this question. Who would you rather have, since we're talking right-handed and Ruff's kind of your pinch hit guy, but he's not going to be on the team probably a year or two from now. Would you rather see Ramos up here getting shot or Darren Ruff?
1,000%. You know what? I was just looking at Andrew Vaughn's, statistics. Like I was like, that guy must have raked in the minor leagues. You know what? He got drafted in 2019. He hit like 260 in the minors, played like rookie ball, A ball, high, and then high A ball. Then they just said, screw it. Let's bring him up to the majors. He hit 230s first year. Now he's hitting 300 and hitting bombs. And I mean, they just said, screw it. Let's just bring him up. A lot
of clubs are bringing guys up in their 21, 22 age, and Vaughn's like 24 now. So,
I mean, he was a pure hitter. Everybody knew when he was in the six pack that he was going to rake in the big leagues. I mean, but I hear what you're saying. He didn't have overwhelming stats, and now here he is. He's developed. He's in the major leagues. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, but I don't know if Ramos is ready. I mean, heck, we all wanted to see Bart last year, and then they called up Bart, and he clearly wasn't ready. So I'm not saying that I'm sitting here. I know more than Farhan. I'm not going to go that far and be like, oh God, I know who should be up and who shouldn't be up. But I'll say this: I'd like to see some more athleticism. I'd like to see some more youth. I'd like to see some guys who are part of the future. If I'm going to invest money in watching a team, I'd like to think that maybe one or two of the guys are going to be on the team in 2 years. I mean, I look at this team right now and I'm thinking, which guy on the team for sure is going to be here in 3 years? And it's like almost nobody who has a bat in their hands. Can you make that statement about? Nobody. There's not one guy who plays every day. So if Webb's pitching great, and I like him. It's not like I'm bitching and moaning about the Giants overall. They won 107 last year. They overachieved. They're just boring this year. And it's really that's really it. It's not that they're bad. They're more boring than bad. They're 40-35. They're not, we've seen way, way, way worse Giant teams. It's not like this is some horrendous team. They're not horrendous. And it's not like they're dumb as a team. They play pretty smart ball. And not like Kapler's like they have this awesome team and Kapler's screwing it up. No, that's not the case. The case is that they haven't been able to promote minor leaguers through their system, and nobody's graduated to the big leagues yet. And so they're still kind of just filling spots as they go. And there's nobody's really tied to any of these players. Either the best players are guys like Peterson and Rodon. They just got here. If the fans are tied to anybody, it would be like Belt and Crawford, and those guys are in the twilight years of their career. So they don't really have that young attraction that's in his 20s that, is going to be, fun to watch and a big part of the future. So I think people just kind of get hesitant about investing their dollars and their emotions in a team when they look around and they see a team that's totally full of guys. There's like two types of guys. There's guys that are going to be here for 3 months, and there's guys that are going to be here for 3 years, and there's like nobody who's going to be here for 5 years. You know what I mean? It just doesn't seem like it. And so it makes you go, well, wait a second. This isn't, Will Clark and Robbie Thompson in the mid 80s. This, where those guys were getting better and they were obviously going to be core pieces of a playoff caliber team in the future. It's a mix mosh of veterans and waiver wire pickups and there's not a lot there.
Well, they ought to do something and go young to at least to bring a kind of a spark. Years ago, Max Williamson was hot in the minor leagues. He was crushing home runs, and they brought him up because he was hot. And, he had the unfortunate mishap down there in the bullpen on the left field foul line, ran over it and ruined his career. But as soon as they brought him up, he kept the hot streak going. He started hitting bombs, and it was like, now David Villar is hitting 270, 20 home runs, 59 RBIs, and a 1,009 OPS. He can play second base or third base. Bring some pop up here. You're hurting with right-handed bat. You got this guy in your system. See what he can do. I mean, maybe he flops, but give him the month of July before the trade deadline and see what he can do. Because maybe
where are you going to play him? You're going to play him and give him third base, and what are you going to tell Longoria?
I'm going to play him at third and second.
What are you doing with Longoria?
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit Longoria on certain days, and I'm going to sit Estrada on certain days. I'm going to rotate Villar between second and third so he gets his at bats. Give him a couple of bats, and that way Longoria
worse left field than Ruff. I don't believe it.
I mean, you could put Estrada out in left field against lefties, right? You could go with, you want to do your platoon game, put Estrada in left field, put Slater in center, and put Gonzalez in right, or Yaz, and put Villar at second base, and you can have Longoria third.
Yeah, I was last year. I had a lot of friends asking me, when I was in LA, like, what is up with this Giants team? Like, how do they keep winning? Like, I don't understand it. I don't even know half these guys. And I was like, they're Posey and Crawford and Bell are having, at this point in their careers, they're B- players, and they're having A- years, and then the rest of the roster is pretty much C- or C's. And because of all the platooning and all of that and putting them in the right spots, we're able to bring all those C- up and have them play like B's. And because we have so many B's, if one guy goes out, then we just bring in another B and another B, and everybody's replaceable. And it's just overall, it's just like a B. This year, everybody regressed pretty much, and we've just added worse pickups. And it's like on average, our average player, if you look across the big leagues, is like an old player that's like maybe a D+, and we're getting them through all of the situational stuff. Yeah. We're getting them to all play like C+. But that's not, I don't want to just keep squeezing out the best of these guys. Like, I don't care if it means we win 5 more games this year. I'd rather play the youngins. And at least
you don't know what you have in VR. He's 25. He's not 21, 22 anymore. He's 25. Bring him up. Let him play. I mean, Patrick Wisdom is another guy. He's with the Cubs. He's 30 years old now. He never got a shot until last year. St. Mary's kid. Actually, he had a little bit of a shot with a couple teams, St. Louis. But Chicago let him play last year. They batted him 338 times last year, and he hit 28 home runs. This year, he's got 16 home runs. He's only hitting 232, but he's got an OPS of almost 800, 790. Not bad. I mean, you found a guy that's got some power. Longoria has, 8 home runs? I mean,
he's got 3 this week.
And I want to say, everybody, I think people are going to be like, oh, we saw it with Bart.
DH him.
Okay,
DH
Bart.
Longoria if he's that hot.
Bart is, I get Bart was in his head. He needs to be down at the minors and it needs to keep working. But that doesn't mean that's going to happen with everybody. You keep bringing these guys up, somebody's going to pop. Luis Gonzalez, who the hell's Luis Gonzalez? All of a sudden he's hitting in the majors. Give David Villar a shot, or else what are you waiting for? 6 years so that when you're on your next GM job, you can remember him and be like, oh, that's an undervalued guy I can bring up in platoon. This guy who never got a shot in the big.
The question is, why not? Why not?
Exactly.
It's not about why, it's why not. You know,
why not at this point?
You're not moving awesome players around. You're not insulting, you know, terrific veterans or future Hall of Famers. Yeah, no, it's you know, they're in kind of a weird spot right now. They've got you know, some proud veterans they've been around forever. They want to go to the finish line with Crawford, Belt, guys like that. Then they, you know, Farhan's, you know, had his guys that he's unearthed, you know, like Wilmer and Yaz and Luis Gonzalez. So now you got a roster that has some guys that he's unearthed, and you've got some holdover guys, and then you still got a farm system, but the farm system hasn't produced. And nobody who's come out of that farm system for the most part has done anything. So right now we're still kind of waiting. You know, do they have a catcher? No. Do they have a first baseman? No. You know, do they have a second baseman? No. Do they have a shortstop? No. I mean, that's fine. When I say no, I mean that's ready to contribute right now. Now, they may have a third baseman in Villar. Maybe. Who knows? Ramos, maybe. I don't know.
We've got multiple third basemen in our Casey Schmidt. It's like, okay, well, if we don't get Villar ABs now when he's leading the PCL in home runs, what are we going to do in a year when Casey Schmidt's up in AAA? And it's like, well, okay, so, all right. I mean, let's just give him a freaking try.
Let's see who's blocking him off the.
There's a nothing burger. Padlo's a nothing burger. What are we doing?
Yeah, no, seriously. And then hell of this, hell of that. $13 million to take on Zach Cozart's contract to get Will Wilson. And Will Wilson doesn't look like much.
He's out now with a broken hand or something, I think.
Now, you mentioned Casey Schmidt. Where's Schmidt right now? What's he doing?
He's in High A, Eugene.
High A. So what are we talking about?
I mean, that's what Andrew Vaughn went from High A to the bigs, and that's all it was.
Yeah, but I mean, High A means he's probably a year and a half away at best. He's a year and a half away.
Opening up spot, like we need to get the farm system churning. If we're just going to be backed up with all these 35-year-old 200 hitters that are platoon guys,
they're in a weird spot. They really are, because they won last year. They won the division, won 107 games. And looked like they were on the verge, but then they didn't spend the money to add to their team, and their prospects aren't ready. So now this year you lose Posey, you lose Bryant, you lose Solano, and you've backslid, and you're not the same team. And losing Posey hurts you both on the mound and at the plate. So it's like a double loss. So they're in a weird spot. Their pitching is not as good. Their defense is clearly not as good. Their offense is pretty spotty. I mean, it's their numbers look better than they actually are. I don't think their offense is anything really great.
Here's what you can do with the roster right now. They've got 42 guys on the 40. So two guys, I think it's Matthew Boyd's on the 60, and I believe, isn't Sam DePlane on the 60? Is he? I believe so. So they don't count against the 40.
No, I think DePlane's on the 40.
There's 42 guys listed on their website and I'm not sure which two are not on the current 40. I know that Boyd is, I believe, on the 60, so he doesn't count against the 40. So here's how you get Villar on the 40. You put DeScalfani on the 60-day. You say season's over, we're going to have season-ending surgery. You create a spot on the 40 to put Villar on. You don't have to do anything else as far as, you made a spot. You created a spot for him. So now get him up here and put him in the lineup every day and see if you can create a spark. They're not going to fire Kapler or anything like that. Joe Girardi got fired. That's not going to happen. And I don't even think it should happen. I'm not calling.
They won 107 games last year.
Right. I'm not calling for Gabe's head at all. I don't think that's the problem. I think the problem is,
Dan, why can't we just get rid of Vossler?
Well, you could DH him, but DFA him, but they like having
Or why can't we move him back to or move him off the 40 to?
He'll get picked up.
You could.
Well, who
he'll
gives an S if Jason Vossler gets picked up?
Because
why would we?
I know.
I care about that.
I agree.
Vossler's been given multiple opportunities. I don't see anything really there.
He's a bad defender.
You got Donovan Walton.
Poor arm, and he's not a good
Donovan
hitter.
Walton, who's your kind of utility guy that can play short, third, and second. So Vossler is really, when you talk about Walton and Vossler, to me, they're one of the same. Actually, Walton's a little more versatile in
at least
because he can play short.
A good defensive player.
I mean, Vossler can really only play third or first.
I mean,
base.
think about what we're really talking about here, fellas. I mean, Danny's laying out, lengthy explanations of how we can get David Villar, some career minor leaguer who's 25 up, and maybe that ignites the entire team.
No, I don't know if it ignites him, but at least it gives
you
a shot of what.
No, I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm just saying look what we're talking about. I mean, the Giants are so low end right now. I mean, David Villar. I mean, seriously. I mean, that's what. Let's aim a little higher than that. I mean, as far as
let's aim higher than Walton and Vossler and all these guys who are like career 240 years in minors. Like, why don't we
like about Villar is a guy with some pop. You don't know what he can produce at the major league level.
Yeah, maybe it's not so much Villar as it's the idea. It's what he symbolizes. Okay, we have young guys that are actually playing well in the minors, hitting way better than the guys that we're bringing up, and we're bringing up these guys. Why? Because we're scared that. Their evaluation
professionally is that the guys who are higher rated are not ready, and that the Vosslers are, career minor leaguers, guys who at least should be ready to contribute. But I agree with you.
Like a marginally higher floor with a extremely lower ceiling.
It's just the guys that they have up right now. Some of these guys are just they're lucky, and they're not established big leaguers. Padlo, Vossler, Walton,
2 third basemen who are not even good hitters in the minors, and it's
wins. I mean, there's just it's a roster full of guys who are just like gonna be people won't even the people won't even be able to name anybody on this team in like 5 years. Like who was on the 2022 Giants? Who was on that team? Man, I can't even Vossler, and it's like going back and looking at some of these names from yesteryear, and Paul Ferries and Steve Scarsoni and Rickard Fanida, and the Giants have always had these kind of guys that are just there, and they're not really prospects. They're not really anything, and it's just it's filler, unfortunately. And that's and people don't pay major league dollars. They won't pay major league prices for minor league talent.
Even entire roster, Larry, Andre Witherspoon and frickin' Chioza, like that's our entire roster.
Here's my
10-day contract guys,
like above 500.
Yeah. Here's my thing on Villar, and I don't know if he'll be successful or not.
No, I know you made your point. You made your point. It's a start. It's something. I get it. He's better than nothing. Why not? I mean, we've made this point to death. I get it. We've been talking about Villar for months. I get it. I don't need to hear any more about Villar. I realize you think he's better. They obviously don't.
They drafted him. They keep bringing in guys from Seattle and guys that.
I know the Stuart Fairchilds, and it's just this parade of nothingness.
How is that for your culture too? It's like if you're like, as far as I'm concerned, if we drafted a guy and he plays well in the minor leagues, he deserves an opportunity over Stuart Fairchild and Papierski. And
here's the thing, though: if you keep adding the Papierskis and the Fairchilds, and then you never have to actually promote your prospects and watch them fail, then guess what? You promote your prospects and they fail. Now you failed. Yep. If they fail in the minor leagues, nobody sees them. They fail in the major leagues. People start saying, what the hell? Why is your guy that you invested in suck? And so I get it. He's trying to, Farhan and Gabe are trying to, cover themselves a little bit, cover Farhan and their evaluation people, because here we are, it's year 4 and they still aren't graduating guys to the big leagues. They're, these, you wouldn't be trading. They're trading for guys who are literally nobodies and putting them on the roster 2 weeks later. And they haven't done it once. They've done it half dozen times since opening day. Half dozen times.
It's a Make-A-Wish Foundation. Like, what the heck?
It's guys who are, and it's funny. Farhan said this. I asked him, hey, what are you going to do? We believe there's a lot of guys who are, in the minor leagues that if they just had an opportunity, they would, in the major leagues, that they would come through. And he believes that, and he is carrying that out. And I'm sure with every Yaz at bat, he feels good. But for every Yaz, there's like 6 or 7 guys who wind up being nothing. And that's where they're at. They got a bunch of guys. Look at all the guys they've tried out. I mean, it's some of their bad defensive stats were tied to that week. They had Padlo at third base, and he made error after error after error. In 1 inning. Yeah, I mean, so they're in a – and it's, the thing about it is the Giants fans aren't used to this. And ultimately it's, the prices are pretty, expensive to watch minor leaguers. And there's a lot of minor leaguers here.
We're talking about,
not even upside.
Yeah. We're talking about Farhan a lot. How much of this might be on ownership or Larry Bear? Who's really calling the shots? I mean, this is the organization that brought in Barry Bonds.
First of all, you can say it's on ownership, but the draft is slotted, and so everybody's got a cap. So you've now had 4 amateur drafts. I can't put it on the ownership. The ownership didn't tell the Giants personnel department, pick guys that won't make it.
No, I'm not talking about the draft. I'm talking about just.
Well, that's where teams are built in the baseball amateur draft,
right?
And they've had 4 drafts now.
I believe that they had drafts that in 19 that were very young guys, 18, 19. I mean, when they got Luciano and Matos, and those guys were only like 16, when they got them. So it's going to take them a while, but I do believe that is the group that's coming up, and I believe Casey Schmidt and a couple of the other guys, and they've got some pitchers coming up. I've gotten to a point, and I'm sure other Giants fans are there as well. Don't tell me about these guys. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear about these guys. I really don't. And I agree.
I don't want to hear one more word about Bishop. One more word about Luciano. And I'm a prospect guy. I don't want to hear about it anymore. Why? Because I don't believe until you prove otherwise.
Yeah,
I've now gotten to a point where I've seen enough guys touted who have turned into nothing. So it's time to stop touting and just show me. Don't talk about your prospects. Don't talk about their development. Tell me when they're ready to help you at the major league level, and I'm only interested then. And if I was trading with the Giants and Farhan called, I would say, you know what? I'm not interested in bidding on any of your prospects because your track record with prospects sucks. And I'm not saying you, Farhan, but your organization's track record with prospects is awful. So guess what? I'm not going to trade for any of your prospects. I'm not interested. I'm not, maybe I'll be wrong and you'll surprise me and one of your guys will come through. But until that happens, I'm not making any trades with you. And I would not be surprised if there weren't a number of teams around the big leagues who are just like, you know what? I don't believe in the Giants prospects. The Giants prospects haven't come through. So if Farhan calls and he's offering guys, only take certain select guys at the very top because you can't really bank that their guys will make it. So I think that's where they're in, which means it's going to be kind of they're going to have to do what the Warriors did. They're going to have to draft their way to success. They're not going to be able to, they're not willing, it doesn't sound like, to go spend their way to success. So they're going to have to draft their way to success. And there's no way around that. There's no shortcuts. You have to handicap the amateur draft correctly, and we haven't seen them be able to do that. Now, Rebel 444 says Luciano's 20 already. Go look at Franco, Tatis, Soto, Julio Rodriguez, etc. They're all all-stars prior to 22.
The kid with Guerrero, they're all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, but I just don't. I mean, I'm happy they have Luciano. I'm happy they have Matos. I'm not guaranteeing they're all going to suck or anything like that. I'm just saying I don't believe that any of them are any good until they actually come up and do it.
Okay, so Larry, go back to what I said the other day. Let's revisit this. Juan Soto rejects the $13 million deal. So Mike Rizzo is now saying, dang, he ain't going to sign here.
He's not taking Farhan's failed prospects.
No, I'm offering you Kyle Harrison, Marco Luciano, Luis Matos, 1, 2, and 3, and I'm offering you a starting pitcher. I'm also going to give you a starting pitcher in Jelly, and I'm going to give you Lamont Wade or Yaz. You pick which one you want, and for Juan Soto, you going to do that deal today?
I'd do it.
I did it the other day. I got ridiculed for Harrison being in the deal.
Well, I mean, first of all, it's just pie in the sky garbage. Why? Because nobody trades their top 3 prospects anymore.
But why not? If they're not proven and they're not
I'm just saying nobody in the game right now is offering their top 3 prospects.
But if that's what Rizzo says he wants,
I guess. I mean, I'll say this. I don't really believe in. I mean, you can look at each prospect and make your own evaluation. But, I don't know. I mean, Matos has a big swing. Harrison's got kind of a weird arm angle that makes me think durability could be an issue. He seems like he's an elbow injury waiting to happen. He's got kind of a low release. He just seems like he puts a lot. It's not a smooth, fluid delivery like a Madison Bumgarner. It's a lefty, herky jerky kind of a lot of pressure on the elbow kind of a delivery, from what I can tell. So it doesn't, to me, that I worry about, Harrison's elbow, and as far as Matos, he takes a big swing, but I mean, there's a big distance to go before he's a major league hitter. I mean, it's the same thing last year with the guy they just traded for Chris Bryant. I loved what I saw highlight wise of Alexander Canario, bat speed like Sammy Sosa. I mean, he seriously can whip that bat through the zone like very few guys in pro ball. But what's he doing this year? Where is Canario this year? What's he doing?
Somebody look him up.
Yeah, I don't think he's doing much. So I know he's popped a few home runs. So it's just, I don't know. It's just Soto just seems like, that seems like ridiculous pie in the sky. I mean, I don't think Rizzo's ever going to trade him. I really don't.
I think if he rejects the offer, he's going to trade him.
I don't think we'll see. We'll see.
An idiot. If he rejects $425 million and he bumps it up internally and they're negotiating and he goes up to 450 and he rejects 450, I'd say he don't want to sign.
We'll see.
Maybe he wants to be in a different market. Maybe he wants to be in LA.
Back to Rye's question. Why does he want to be here where he's going to be walked all the time? Because there's nobody to cover him in the lineup.
No young core that's developing that's on the way. Like we're not the Cubs where, when they won, it was like, they had all these guys coming up at the same time. And it seemed like, oh my God, is this the new 27 Yankees? I could see being a free Juan Soto and being like, oh, I want to hop in on that. I want to get in or want to buy early on that. If the Giants were a stock, I would not be investing any money in them. It looks like they are a little bit of a bubble, actually.
Matthew Mears says, believe in Zaidi. I do. Well, it's, I what's that belief based on? The 107 last year? Because that 107 right now sure looks like smoke and mirrors. Sure looks like everything came together.
I trust
I think Farhan's smart, but he hasn't proven. He has not proven he can handicap the draft. He has not proven that he can draft and develop players.
He hasn't proven
done it
with the draft or development. those are the two things we need. I believe that he's great at being able to, pick random people and squeeze out a little bit of potential. And when that all comes together, yeah, he can make a 88 win ball club out of a team that has nobody that's a star. That he can do. But I don't really care about that right now. I want to. He's almost the guy. He's almost like a GM. They talk about wartime guys and what. He's almost the GM you want when you have the roster and the infrastructure.
Here's the problem that happened with last year. You had Buster Posey have, a Buster Posey old, year. I mean, he had those couple years where he had the hip problem, but Posey came back, hits 18 home runs, hits 300. Brandon Belt has a career year, hits 29 home runs. Brandon Crawford has a career year. Darren Ruff has a career year. What do all four of those guys have in common?
They're old.
Exactly. So you should have expected a decline. They're not going to repeat the years they had.
It really wasn't his core. It was Sabian's core that all played well last year.
I'm just saying you're backing
them with some sort of substance that maybe is not detectable. I don't understand how Zaidi can get credit for them having career years at such a age.
Well, you really can't. You can give credit to, and I'll give credit to Kapler with hiring the hitting instructors he hired, and they changed their approach. And all those guys bought in, and they were very successful. So you have to give credit to Gabe and also Farhan, who hired Gabe, because they have the vision.
But what is he building? I mean, forget the 107 last year. What are you building? What are you building? Do you have a first baseman? Do you have a second baseman? Do you have a shortstop? Do you have a third baseman? What exactly are you building? That's really more important than what they did last year. What they did last year was miraculous. It was terrific. It was amazing. It was lightning in a bottle several ways. But that takes. They themselves would admit that it's about building this thing up, and I don't see the build right now. We're multiple years in, and I'm not seeing the pieces coming together. Who is the first baseman of the future? Do we know who it is? Nope. Is he in the system? Who is the second baseman of the future? Do we know who it is? Is he in the system? Nope. Is Luciano the shortstop of the future, or is he going to play third base or left field? Do they have a third baseman in their system worth a damn? Is Bailey the catcher of the future? Is Matos, who Romo 2001 says is in high A right now, isn't even hitting 200? Is Matos in your future outfield? Is Ramos in your future outfield? Who exactly is in your future outfield? So, what I'm saying? They got more questions than answers, and we're multiple years into this thing. So, I realize we were all loving last year, but I want to see some growth and some development. I mean, I know Farhan knows baseball. He signed Jock Peterson. He signed Rodon. Both those guys could be going to an all-star game. So it's not like, oh my God, the guy can't pick players. But where is the amateur draft success? And when are we going to see that at the major league level? Because none of this other stuff matters until you can draft and develop a core of your next guys. You can crush Sabian all you want, and some of the criticism is justified, but he still, drafted Bumgarner and Kane and Lincecum and Brian Wilson and Buster Posey and, brought up Pablo Sandoval. I mean, there were some. He did have a core there. Who's Farhan's core that he's going to draft, develop, and promote to the big leagues? Whether they be pitchers or hitters, and we're still waiting for that core. And I don't know, who exactly is in that core. And that's going to be the big question. And that's going to be the big, determining factor in, is Farhan successful or is he a failure? It's like, can he draft and develop and promote to the big leagues a core of players that can compete with the Dodgers and the Padres and all the better teams in the National League? Can he do it? We'll find out.
He's got total
control of the team.
We don't have a single player that's dominated in the minor leagues. Not one.
Let me give you guys some interesting information here. This is prospect rankings, top 10 by position. And if you went to first base, no Giant.
Oh, well, we have like one probably in shortstop and one probably left-handed pitcher. And that's probably
second base, no Giant. Shortstop, Luciano is third. Third base,
hitting 280.
And what's Luciano doing right now?
I mean, he hit 218 and
hurt. I don't know if he's back.
And then this year he's hitting 280.
He's been hurt. I don't know if he's back.
280 in Double-A?
In High A.
Yeah, I mean, High A. Yeah. Once again, I mean, show me. It's like I don't want to hear about any of these guys until they hit in Double-A. It's like if I said, Giants, you can't tell us anything about any of your prospects until they hit at Double-A, we would never hear about any of their prospects because none of their prospects ever hit at Double-A or higher. I mean, seriously. I mean, you know how many guys have dominated the Cal League or the Midwest League or the Carolina League, the Appalachian League? Do it in the Southern League. Do it in the Texas League. Do it in the Eastern League. Do it in the PCL. Do it in Double or Triple A. The Giants prospects, they always flame out in A-ball, and by the time they get to Double A, they vanish.
Okay, I looked at every position. So they took every position. The Giants have Matos as the ninth best prospect in all of minor league baseball as the outfielder. No, and right-handed pitching, no Giant. Left-handed pitching, Kyle Harrison is third. So out of, 9 positions, so that's 90 players, the Giants had 3. Luciano, Matos, and Harrison.
And that would be acceptable if we had like Fernando Tatis and Juan Soto and like this great young core. I mean, it
would be fine if their last homegrown all-star outfielder wasn't Chili freaking Davis, who's like a batting coach somewhere. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, their ineptitude with the draft is at this point almost legendary. The fact that the Giants won 3 World Series titles and they have effed up the draft as much as consistently as they have is a borderline miracle. I mean, if you really think about it, they won in 10, 12, and 14, and yet they have been one of the worst draft and developed teams in baseball. I mean, seriously, you can say whatever you want about the Oakland A's and how they're run. Go look at the outfielders their franchise has developed in the last 30 years compared to the Giants. I mean, is it slim pickings? Yeah, but they still have guys like Eric Burns and Jermaine Dye and, guys like that. I mean, who have come up. Maybe Jermaine Dye gets started in Atlanta. But, I mean, they've had guys who have come through the A's system who have been in outfielders. Giants, no. Nobody at all. I mean, Armando Rios and, Marvin Bernard and, guys who just – for the most part, they're not even utility guys. So yeah, they're going to have to, and it's one thing you can take control and you can, run the system for a few years and you can be, everybody's like super hopeful about your prospects. And then eventually there's going to be a moment where they're either going to have to do it or not do it. And then it's just amazing how many times these prospects that are highly touted don't do it. I mean, it's really shocking when you think about it that Brian Reynolds was traded by Bobby Evans. When you think about what an unbelievable bad handicapping that was by Evans. He's probably had 50 outfielders that came into the system while he was with the organization, and he traded the only one that's any good. I mean, think about that for a second. He traded. There's only one outfielder. He probably, he was probably there for a decade. They draft 50 rounds, 25 position players, 25 pitchers, let's say. They probably drafted no less than 250 position players in the time he was there. Of those, 40, 50 have got to be outfielders. And you traded Brian Reynolds, the only one that actually became anything you dealt. So I mean, it's
Duvall too. Duvall was not bad.
And Duvall also got dealt.
Yeah, and I mean, he's hitting 205, but he's also hitting a lot of home runs, and it's a good glove. Yeah, I looked at the positions again. I just was curious what the Dodgers had in the top, 90 of those. They had 4 players, and the A's had 4 players. The A's got 2 catchers in the top 10 of all of baseball. So, the A's are, plus some of those guys they got in these trades, if they pan out, Vegas will have a good team in a couple years.
Yep. All right, guys. 2 hours, 48 minutes, and it's 12:43 in the morning. So maybe we should play some sponsors right here, and then we'll be back with some final thoughts on the Krueg Show. Larry Krueger here for Telmetrics. Thanks to Casey Bateman and the good people at Telmetrics. If you're an occupational therapist, if you're an orthopedic surgeon, a chiropractor, a physical therapist of any kind, Telmetrics is designed for you to use in your practice and will greatly benefit your patients. Telmetrics uses computer vision and artificial intelligence and provides a platform for outpatient rehab therapy services, both in the clinical and the telehealth environments. So using Telmetrics can improve your patient's experience and much more. So for all your sports injury needs, or if you're a physical rehabilitation specialist of any kind, make sure you use telmetrics.co, TELMETRIX.co. And thanks to Casey Bateman and all the good people at Telmetrics for being a proud sponsor of the Krueg. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Dan Coccimilgio. Dan is a buddy, and he is a phenomenal retirement planning specialist. And you can contact him today at securemoney.com or at his number, 925-628-9966. There's a lot of uncertainty in our world right now, and you want to make sure that your money is secure. That is the key. Danny's got 25 years of experience, born and raised right here in the Bay Area, and he can help you get an immediate 10% premium bonus on your principal retirement account. So give him a call, 925-628-9966. He'll make an appointment with you, and you can sit down. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of a deal. He'll consult with you and come up with a strategy to get you going to where you want to be. Once again, 925-628-9966, securemoney.com on the web. And thanks to Tony Cassera and the good people at Cassera's Italian Menswear. They are housing the Krueg Show t-shirts, and they're a proud sponsor of the show as well. The Krueg Show t-shirt, the Krueg Show podcast t-shirt is available there at their store in Dublin. Their address is 7372 San Ramon Road in Dublin, California. And go see Tony Cassera and get yourself a Krueg Show t-shirt and support the show. And special thanks to our sponsor, New York Style Italian Sausage. That's right, NewYorkStyleSausage.com is their website. Phenomenal product, whether it's the breakfast sausage, the Italian mild, the Italian spicy, the chorizo. You cannot go wrong with New York Style Italian Sausage. Once again, NewYorkStyleSausage.com, often imitated, never equaled. And they are a proud sponsor of the Krueg Show. Thanks to them as well.
We grew up with a Sunday dinner. That means no matter how busy you were, no matter where the hell you were, you came to dinner on a Sunday night. Yeah, Sunday dinner without sausage, it's like a church without God. How can you go to church if you don't believe in God? And along with the sausage also became the discussions. That was discussion night. It wasn't a typical family that you sit there and you're quiet, and you don't talk with a mouthful. Oh no, man. Italians talk when they're eating. Italians even talk when they're sleeping. And definitely we talk with our hands. So if we can't express it through our mouth, through our lips, we express it with our hands. So, and that's what sausage is, really. It's an expression, that life is good.
All right, welcome back to the Krueg Show. Romo 2001 says, I bet Pasquale get better than Ruff. That's a great one. That is phenomenal. We got this one, Carlo P. Pasquale and the Warriors equal champions. Matthew Mears says, I never see the breakfast sausage. Yeah, it's in there. In fact, I got some New York style Italian sausage today, mild, at Costco.
There you go, mild.
The mild is good. The breakfast sausage is really, really good. It's all good stuff. It's all fantastic stuff. And, thanks to Mike D'Ambrosio and Pasquale and all the good people at New York Style Italian Sausage for being sponsors of the Krueg Show. All right, guys, time for some final thoughts. Giants lose 1-0. Warriors added Dante DiVincenzo, re-signed Kevon Looney, but unfortunately, or fortunately, whatever way you look at it, they did say goodbye to a number of guys. Nemanja Bjelica moved on to Turkey. Damian Lee went to the Phoenix Suns. They also said goodbye to Juan Toscano Anderson. He went to the Lakers. Otto Porter signed with Toronto, 2 years, $21 million. And Gary Payton signs with the Blazers, 2 years, $28 million. Golden State offered 6.4 per year. He got $8 million a year from Portland. So he'll now play next to Dame Lillard up there in Portland. Guys, got a final thought on the night? Basketball, baseball, any direction you want to take it, go ahead.
My final thought is I just did some research during the ad break, and I've got some really positive news, guys. So, the Farhan regime, I'd say, started in 2019. Going back to 2018, we have had only one position player with at least 70 at-bats in AA bat over 300. And that player was Joey Bart.
Wow. Dusty Gold says, Rye, where's Ringo?
Ringo. Come on.
Let's see Ringo.
My dad just got home from the Giants game, so he's
hanging with Ringo.
Yeah, come on. Yeah. Yeah.
There's Ringo. There's Ringo.
There we go, Ringo.
Ringo doesn't bark a whole lot, huh?
He does if they're
intruders.
If there's like an Amazon delivery guy, he'll let us know. But
there you go. Yeah, that's what Buster does.
Danny, Faith, and Buster. Where's Faith? Where's Buster?
Buster's in the other room in the back with Mom, and of course Faith's just sitting right down there.
Look at that. Faith is like, you know what? The Giants' offense is so bad, I don't want my face to be shown on this broadcast.
Yeah. My final thought is two. One, I wish the Warriors would have came up with a little bit more for GP2 and just kind of it makes so much profit, that they could have afforded it. And he's such a great asset. I mean, he changes.
Size losing his S over it.
I see that on Twitter. Yeah. And the other thing is, let me go a little J Hutch on you here. Larry, I'm a little ticked off right now. I'm upset that you said the Giants would go 4-7 or 5-6 on this 11-game swing, and I said 8-3. Right now, you're looking a lot smarter than me. That kind of ticks me off.
We might have to get Danny a new mic. His mic's really on the low side.
It's so low that at this point, when you're doing the J Hutch,
it's lower than. Okay, I'm a little ticked off right now, Larry. That the fact that your prediction of my Giants is coming true. They're on the easiest homestand in the entire season.
People were saying 8-3 during this 11-game stretch.
Yeah, that was me, Larry. You were 5-6, maybe 4-7. You said. What are they right now? 2-4? No, they're worse. Let's see.
No,
it's worse than that. What is it?
They lost 2 out of 3 to Cincinnati. They split with so they're 1-2 against Cincinnati.
They're 2-4.
1-1, so they're 2-3, not 2-4. Yep, 2-4.
We got 5 left.
One more to play.
We got 5 left. We've got 2 against the White Sox and 3 in Arizona. So that was the 11-game stretch. So for me to come out close, they've got to win the next 5. So I'm kind
So
of not
go
feeling,
Giants.
Yeah, I'm not feeling so good right now. I think I want to pitch David Villar and bat him cleanup tomorrow.
Mark Graves says Faith is getting smarter, staying out of arm's length from Dan. Yeah.
Oh man,
I
thought
guess
that was a no-brainer.
my final thought is, they should have paid GP2. My goodness, it's just cash. And you know what? But it's easy for me to say because it's this repeater tax thing is punitive. But I just it's weird if James Wiseman had really played this year, maybe Looney wouldn't have played as much. Maybe they would have prioritized Peyton. Instead, Looney played a lot. He played pretty well. He's Kerr's favorite, so they prioritize Looney. But I just think GP2 is a difference maker. And every single time they lost this year, almost without exception, they did not play him enough minutes. And so I just find it so interesting that they recognized in the finals that they needed to play him. Did play him. He really did an incredible job at shutting down Marcus Smart and turned off Marcus Smart's faucet. And that was pretty much it. I don't think they win this title without GP2. And I think I don't think his replacement has been found yet. We'll see. We'll see what direction they go. I wouldn't mind seeing them go after a Carmelo Anthony, at this point. No, I like Carmelo.
At least about the Warriors, it's like GP2. If GP2 was on the Giants, if we found the Giants version of GP2, he'd be their number one position player the following year, and he would play every single day and all that. I do think that GP2 is one of the probably on the right team, one of the 45 most valuable players in the league. So I really don't like losing him, but at least the Warriors can say, you know what? We have Moody, Kuminga. We have a plan. We have these guys that are going to need more playing time next year. And, I love Ryan Rollins. I think he's going to be incredible for them. So
Moody could be a better version because of the 3-point shot. But what you miss with GP2, I don't know if you guys saw
smart.
Somebody put a little thing out on Twitter and they showed some key plays against Boston in that game 6. He just picked, I don't know who it was. He just Smart driving to pick it, turns into a 3-point shot. Another one into a layup for Wiggins in that first quarter when he was in. And it just so many plays that, they get measured as either a steal. Sometimes it's not even a steal. It's just being on the court.
He has defensive gravity. When he's on the court, Jaylen Brown has to think twice about putting the ball on the floor, even if he's not being guarded by
You don't want to dribble around him. You can pick anybody at any point. He's an elite difference-making defender with length and strength and tenacity and skill.
A guy like that. You bite the bullet.
He's a shutdown defender. You just don't, and he, not only that, we're in this era where there's so many of these guys who, like Ja Morant, where they're not like the Warriors. They don't initiate the offense from 4 different guys or 2 different guys or 3 different guys. It's the same guy initiating. It's Ja Morant. Well, guess what? You've got an on the ball stopper, and for all these teams that lean on that one guy, you can put a guy like Peyton on that one guy and blanket him. Well, now you can't. So we'll see. I think it was short-sighted, especially when you look at how much money they're making.
The other thing about it that I think gets overlooked, not just his what he does for him on the court. He's a huge fan favorite. He's from the Bay. He's from Oakland. The crowd loves him. Every time he stands up, everybody goes crazy. And he makes something happen in a good, positive way for the team. Whether he scores 1 point or 15, he makes something happen. And, he's the perfect bench player. He's the perfect 7th, 8th guy who comes off your rotation and changes the entire complexity of the game when he's out there. And I just don't think you find guys like that. he's, to me, he's better than Pat Bev because.
Oh my God, zillion! He's the best.
Well, that's an interesting one though. What if Utah buys out Bev?
Well, I would love to have him on the roster.
That might not be a bad. I actually kind of think that now, looking at the roster with DiVincenzo, I mean, look at what Golden State has now.
I think they need a big wing to replace.
They've got Wiseman and Looney at the 5. They've got Steph and Rollins and DiVincenzo, let's say, at the 1. Thompson, Moody, and Poole at the 2. Wiggins, Kuminga. Maybe they bring back Iguodala at the 3. So what they really need is they need another big man or two. They got Draymond Green and Patrick Baldwin at the 4, and they got Wiseman and Looney at the 5. So, what they lost was a perimeter shooter in Porter and a perimeter shooter in Bjelica, and they could use an offensive 4. Now, who's that offensive 4? If they could get TJ Warren, he's a small forward, but he's 6'8". Maybe you could use him as an offensive 4. Carmelo Anthony's 6'9". He probably could be used as an offensive 4, but they need, I like Frank Kaminsky. People laugh at that, but I always like Kaminsky. But they could use somebody who can play that 4 spot and who can shoot the ball. Now, Baldwin sounds like he can, but it sounds like he may be a little bit of a project. So, to me, if there's a couple guys for those final spots, I would like to see them get somebody 6'8" or taller who can shoot the ball from the perimeter. Because they missed that with Bjelica and Porter.
I think you'd have to slot like what you're saying, Larry. To make it make sense, it's like Wiseman and Looney at center. I think that the Draymond backup is actually Kuminga.
What about Ibaka?
Yeah, possibly.
And then as far as threes go, we're a little light. I guess you could say threes. We could say Wiggins and Moody, and then you go 2s and you say Poole and Clay. And then also DiVincenzo can play 1 through 3. And then, 1, it's Rollins and Steph. And
is Rollins going to be healthy? He's got the stress fracture now.
Yeah, I don't love that. But I think Rollins is going to be insanely good for them.
Serge Ibaka would be ideal. Absolutely. If you could get or Muscala, I could see a guy like Muscala who's a corner 3 guy. But Carmelo, I really like. I think Carmelo, to me, TJ Warren and Carmelo would be nice from the standpoint of Warren had 50 in a game. He just hasn't been healthy the last couple of years. He's a major scorer, and he would be nice. And then I think Carmelo, one thing about Carmelo is he's accepted his role in the twilight years of his career, and he's not going to be intimidated by playing at the Boston Garden or anywhere else for that matter. He's a future Hall of Famer. He's got huge, unshakable confidence. And I like what I've seen from him in the last year as far as his turnaround jump shot, his mid-range game, even the range on his shots gotten pretty good. I think if you put him on this team, he would add a real presence. You got to remember with this team, this is a very young team now. It's got a lot of teenagers. You got a lot of really young players. If you added a guy like Anthony, who's been there, done that, he might be in a perfect spot. I realize he's been kind of a me guy through his career, but I think, on this team at this point in history, I think in a lot of ways, Carmelo could be a phenomenal addition. So we'll see what direction they go. I do have a lot of faith in Bob Myers, but I didn't like the fact that they didn't pay GP2. I went to a game this year. I bought 3 beers. It was $52. And you know what? I'm sitting there going, what? $52 for 3 beers? And then, so when I'm sitting there going, you know what they're going to have to pay in luxury. Sorry if I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm sorry. I paid my $52 for my 3 beers and I want to see a big time team. So, I'm not going to, there are people that feel pain when billionaires, don't get a great financial situation or have to pay a little money. I'm just not one of them. So, it wouldn't bother me if Joe Lacob, lost a few bucks to GP2. I would have done it because I think he's a difference maker, but you know what? I'm also not going to lose my S over it because I like Dante DiVincenzo and I like the roster as is. I like Kuminga. I like Moody. I like Wiseman. I like Poole. So the future's bright, but It's just one of those things where I wanted Peyton, but I guess I'm okay if they keep adding to this roster. It could be worse. We could be Carmichael Dave, and they could be the Kings.
Right. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see, because I looked at their depth chart, and they're really, you got your starting five, Clay, Curry, Looney, and Clay, Curry, Looney, Draymond, and Wiggs. Your next five are Poole, DiVincenzo, Moody, Kuminga, and Wiseman. Okay, there's your 10. So who's your next guys? And you start looking, you go, yeah, they're a little thin on the front line. They're going to need some guys that are 3-and-D, some 6'8" or better. The thing about Porter, he was like 6'9", 6'10", but he could shoot and rebound. They really don't have that coming off the bench right now. That kind of is a concern. So maybe they will find, I'm sure they'll find a vet that will sign a vet minimum deal.
I'd be down for one of the Martin twins.
Yeah.
The guys who played in Nevada for Musselman. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us. It is 3 hours and 8 minutes into the live stream. It is 1:03 in the morning.
Got a flight in 7.5 hours.
You're flying out. Yeah, what do you guys got planned this weekend? Big 4th of July weekend. I'm going up to Natomas to barbecue with my brother.
Oh, that's
I may go to the Giants Diamondbacks game on the 4th. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it or go on the 4th. I'm definitely going the 5th and 6th. So I got to decide if I want to go all 3 games.
All right. Well, hey, happy 4th to you guys. Have a great holiday. We won't be doing any Krueg show Saturday, Sunday, or Monday. So we're going to take a little 3-day break. How about that? A little 3-day break, a little Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Can you guys handle 3 days without the Krueg show?
Hey, what happens if the Giants win all 3?
I was just thinking that.
That means they win when you guys are not on, and then they
maybe they cancel the show. You mean they call YouTube and say cancel those guys? We're a lot better when they're not on. Yeah, GD4 says happy 4th, everybody. All right, it is time for the Monster Slam.
He's going to drive to the hoop again. He kicks it out to Wiggins. Wiggins drives. Goes in for a monster slam!
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly what you asked for. Here for whatever you bring me, getting handled. I answer to no one, I don't need to